Anyway, so let's get this meeting started. Let's call it to order. So let me turn the page. First is, I'm not ready yet.
Take your time.
There we go. So let's first report out of closed session. Is there anything to report?
Thank you. The town council met in closed session with respect to the one item on the closed session agenda, and there is no reportable action from that item, and that concludes the report.
Thank you. So let's start our opening ceremonies with the call to order. Roll call.
Council members Abel.
Here.
Dennison.
Here.
Lombardo.
Here.
Schooler.
Here.
And Mayor Droz.
Here.
And Mayor, at your designation, will now have the Pledge of Allegiance, immediately followed by the invocation, given this evening by Grumpy Kelleher, chaplain for the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department. If everyone would please stand and then remain standing until after the invocation.
Okay, we're going to start the Pledge of Allegiance. Councilmember Dennison will be starting that for us.
Please join me in the pledge to our flag. Ready, begin. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Okay, let's go with the invocation.
Good evening. Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we come before you, Lord, and we just thank you for all the gifts that you have given us, Lord. We thank you for all the men and women that work to keep this town successful. I lift the town council to you, Lord, as I ask that they look towards you for wisdom and guidance. In Colossians 1:16 and 17 we read, "For in him all things were created, things in heaven and on earth, visible and invisible, whether thrones or power or rulers or authorities. All things have been created through him and for him. He is before all things, and in him all things hold together." So, Lord, as this meeting goes forward and as the town moves forward in the years to come, I ask that you wrap your hands around them. Wrap your hands around our leaders, our law enforcement, our first responders. So, Lord, in closing, I just lift all of this to you in the name of your mighty Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Grumpy. I don't know how you got that name, but you never sound grumpy to me. You're always very cheerful. Now we have presentations, introductions, and recognitions. Yucca Valley Chamber of Commerce update.
Thank you, Mayor Jeff and Town Council. I'm Wanda Statham, CEO of the Yucca Valley Chamber of Commerce, and I'm really happy to be here today to give you a little snapshot of what's going on with Grub Steak Days. And you can watch the screen if you want to. You don't have to look at me. Right up there on the board represents 20 people, 20 businesses, 20 agencies, 20 businesses that have committed to help us with Grub Steak Days. There are 20 more. We have 40 sponsors at this point for Grub Steak Days. And our biggest sponsor, of course, is the town of Yucca Valley. We thank you so much for the partnering funds for our Grub Steak. We wouldn't be able to do it without you guys, so we really do appreciate everything. Next slide. First on the agenda is our Leeds Lunch, which is coming up May 15th at La Cugama Go Grande Restaurant. You're all invited to come. The only price of the lunch is the cost of your lunch. And you come buy your own lunch, and then you get 1 minute on the microphone or more, if we have the time, to brag about your business, to brag about your nonprofit, and to business network with all the other folks that are in the room. That's on the 15th of May. The next Thursday night is our giant kickoff mixer at Snakebite Roadhouse in their back room. They have a beautiful banquet room in the back, and we're going to have some live auction items. Next slide. I think we've got the pictures of them. We've got a beautiful men's jacket that was donated by the Gary Eklund family that was worn 20 years in the Grub Steak Festival. He volunteered. He passed away this last January, and the family donated that beautiful jacket. Dan Laterno is going to be our auctioneer. We have a beautiful wooden handmade flute from John Stillwell, valued at over $400. We have an Angels kit that has a bunch of beautiful memorabilia in it. We have a Steve Riemann bronze, that climber there. It's number 77 of 150 of his statues. And we also have some other women's faux leather blouse and some other fun things that are going to get auctioned off as a fundraiser for the Chamber of Commerce. That's that Thursday before Grub Steak Days, 5 to 7 p.m. Next slide. Also, this is big news. The Shopner Shows is coming. Carnival. It's going to run 10 days this year down at the corner of Hilton Highway 62. If you want some tickets, you got to buy pre-sale. There's pre-sale available until the 22nd of May, excuse me. Pre-sale tickets, and you call the chamber for the phone number to get your pre-sale tickets. Next slide. We have a giant golf tournament coming up. It's a golf season. We have 4 teams that are still needed, so get your friends together and come down and golf. The team that usually tries the hardest and comes in last isn't coming this year, so we have an opening. Yes, all of you non-golfers, come and play golf and win some prizes for trying the hardest. So again, that's going to be on Friday. Shotgun start at 8 a.m. at Hawks Landing. Next slide. This is the Brim Park Boys and Girls Club area. Get yourself kind of situated in here. What we're trying to do with the Chamber of Commerce is put together a nice festival for both sides of the street, that when our aquatic center gets finished and we have our 2 indoor basketball courts, we can really bring that whole parcel together and have a lot going on all at one time. And I'm going to attempt to tell you what's going to be happening on Saturday, May 24th. Next slide. So this is our Grub Steak Days, May 24th, beer garden, live music. We're going to have 10 bands, a mechanical bull. There's all kinds of activities going on over the park, 22 art exhibitors, 25 Grub Steak Marketplace exhibitors, all on the Brim Youth Sport Park side. That'll be from noon until 8 p.m. We'll get the field lights on. It'll be just a really nice evening to be outdoors. We'll have some easy up set up for you to sit and talk about the old days. I'm going to have a booth that's called the Old Timers booth. Sometimes they lie, sometimes they don't, but you can come and sit in that Old Timers booth and tell all the stories that you want. Next slide. We're going to have Kids Day that same day, right across the street from Brim Park. All kinds of fun things are going to be happening at Kids Day. There's going to be water slides, games, the Miss and Mr. Minor contest is happening there. We'll have a livestock display of grub steak animals, miniature donkeys, miniature ponies, mules, all the grub steak stock that our grub stakers and miners used during the Grub Steak Days. That's from Joey's Animal Rescue. There'll be a wagon parade as well, a small wagon parade. Last year we had 15 entries in the wagon parade. This year there'll probably be more. So that'll be fun. It'll be run by the Miss Yucca Valley and her court. Next slide. On Sunday is, of course, our famous Grub Steaks Run, sponsored by the town of Yucca Valley, 8 a.m. start at Yucca Valley High School. And we hope that if you're a runner or a walker, they've got a 2K, 5K, and 10K. You can register online. There's also forms here available at the community center. Next slide. Up in Pioneer Town, we're going to be running our 74th Pony Express ride. The mail arrives at noon. They're going to have some events that'll be going on from 10 a.m. There'll be cookie sampling. And last year, if you tried some of those cookies, you really didn't want to leave. They had a 30-foot buffet of homemade cookies. And you could eat until you just couldn't eat anymore. Yeah, and then you vote, and they award prizes for the best cookies. They'll also have local arts and crafts, and the mail, the Pony Express mail, will ride down Main Street and deliver the postcards that have been collected. Next slide, I think, is the new cancellation stamp. Now, this cancellation stamp, the chamber will provide a free postcard and the actual USPS stamp that goes on the postcard. You address it to yourself, to your friend, or to your family, to your grandkids. We give you free postcards. And then the post office in Pioneer Town will cancel the stamp with this commemorative stamp designed by Kurt Souter up in Pioneer Town. And then by June 30th, the cancellation stamp will be destroyed. So you will have a souvenir postcard of this event. And the Pioneer Town Post Office has a real beautiful display board up on their walls that show all the stamps that have been used over the last 40, 50 some years. So this is a tradition. And you might wonder about that Mexican hat up there. There was two Mexican riders that rode the Pony Express. And so this is the tribute, the little hoorah to those two gentlemen that rode the Pony Express in those early years. So back to the first slide again, or we're done. I want to invite you all to come down and have a good time. If you're home on Memorial Day weekend, we'd love to see you. And come down and have a glass of wine, a beer or soda, or even lemonade. We've got 9 food vendors in the food court. We also have a motorcycle show and car show happening at the same time. So there's plenty to see. The Hometown Hero Circle will all be set up with the Marine. The military will be there, the fire department, the sheriffs are going to show. We're going to have a lot of really, really wonderful things for you to wander around and take a look at and have a lovely afternoon. So thank you very much. And if there's no questions, then I'll see you grub steak days. Thank you.
Thank you, Wanda.
Thank you.
Great job, Wanda.
Okay, next we have the approval of the agenda. Does any council member want to first?
Mayor,
and
I'll move
second?
the item as shown, approval of the agenda.
All second.
Council members Abel,
Yes.
Dennison,
Yes.
Lombardo,
Yes.
Schooler,
Yes.
and Mayor Droz.
Yes. Now we have the consent agenda. So these are all routine matters or formal documents covering previous town council instruction. Items are enacted by one motion and a second without separate discussion unless a member of the town council or town staff requests dialogue on a specific item at the beginning of the meeting. Requests for public comment on the consent agenda items should be filled out with the town clerk. So is there anyone in the public that would like to discuss anything on the consent agenda? Anyone online? Okay, town council, does anybody want to move this forward, or is there anything?
Mayor, if there's no one wanting to pull an item, I'll make a motion to consent agenda items 2 through 12.
Dennison will second.
Council members Abel,
Yes.
Dennison,
Yes.
and Lombardo,
Yes.
Schooler,
Yes.
and Mayor Droz.
Yes. Next is the public hearings. Number 13, public hearing in connection with the placement of fiscal year 25-26 solid waste handling service charges on the property tax roll.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and Council. The item before you is a public hearing in connection with the placement of the fiscal year 25-26 solid waste handling service charges on property tax rolls. The recommendation is that the town council conducts a public hearing, reviews the report prepared by the town manager, and adopts a resolution authorizing the placement of fiscal year 25-26 solid waste handling service charges on the property tax rolls. So some background on this item is that the solid waste services are provided to town businesses and to residents through a franchise agreement that the town has with Burtech. The town's franchise agreement and solid waste ordinance both include provisions authorizing the town to collect solid waste service charges through the property tax rolls at the same time as general property taxes, and has been collecting these fees on the property tax rolls since 2020. In accordance with Health and Safety Code Section 5473, the town has prepared a written report which contains a description of each parcel of real property receiving solid waste handling services and the amount of the charge for each parcel for the 25-26 fiscal year, tax year. This report is on file with the town clerk and is attached as Exhibit A to the proposed resolution authorizing the collection of the service charges on the tax rolls. I also have a binder with that same report in it over by the town clerk for review. By approving the proposed resolution, the town council would be authorizing the town to collect solid waste handling charges on the tax rolls in the same manner and at the same time as general property taxes. So over the last 2 years, statewide solid waste rates were significantly impacted due to the state's requirement for implementing organics recycling due to SB 1383. The town's implementation period for those adjustments is now complete. So for the fiscal year 25-26 year, the franchise haulers rate adjustment includes an annual CPI increase and the inclusion of the town's mandatory recovered organic waste procurement as required under SB 1383, which is resulting in less than a 5% increase from last year. Prior to approving the placement of the service charges on the tax roll, Health and Safety Code 5473 requires the town council to conduct a public hearing. And notice of this public hearing was provided in accordance with Health and Safety Code 5473.1 by publishing a notice of the hearing in the High Desert Star newspaper on April 16th and April 23rd, 2025. During the public hearing, the town council shall hear and consider all objections or protests, if any, to the report and placement of the charges on the tax roll. If the town council finds that the majority of the parcel owners subject to the charges have submitted protests or appear to protest, the report shall not be adopted and the charges must be collected separately. Upon the conclusion of the hearing, the council may adopt, revise, change, reduce, or modify any or overrule any or all objections. The resolution placing the charges on the tax roll must be approved by a 2/3 vote of the town council. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions following public comment after the public hearing.
Thank you, Jessica. Is there anyone in the public that would like to comment on item number 9? Okay, let's go back to the council. Okay, yeah, let's close the public hearing. And let's go back to the council.
Yeah, I was a little reluctant when they came out with the green waste, living up here with not a lot of lawns and trimmings and all that. But I found that I use it all the time, and we're I'm very happy to help alleviate the things that go to the landfill. So I think it's worked out really, really well. It also gives me incentive to fill it up each week with hula hoeing and so forth, and take advantage of that haul away. So it allows more room for other items to be recycled, and so I think it's really wonderful. And I do think it's working, and I'm happy to continue to move it forward for the next year. Appreciate them trying to keep costs down as much as possible.
I agree, and it helps keep the desert cleaner, even though we still have problems, because people are required to have trash service. And this was item number 13, not 9. So anyway, yeah, I agree. Councilmember
One
Dennison.
comment following up on Councilmember Abel's comment. Is I went to Southern California Association of Governments event recently, and I specifically looked at organics and how they were managed. And they demonstrated in there of how the organic digesters are working and how they're breaking these materials down and being able to reuse them again. So reducing landfills, increasing the usefulness of things that we're throwing out. And I do the same way. I fill up my green can much more than I ever thought I would. But when you look at the items that you can put in there that can be repurposed in different forms, it's great, and it's great for the environment. So it is about, once again, 33% increase in collection services for our hauler because of the third can in our area, but the cost that it's costing the residents to utilize that is a fraction of our overall bill. So with that, I would like to second the motion that Councilmember Abel made.
Okay, was there anyone else who wanted to speak? I forgot. No. Okay, so we have a first and a second.
Councilmembers Abel,
Yes.
Dennison,
Yes.
Lombardo,
Yes.
Schooler,
Yes.
and Mayor Droz.
Yes.
Now we have the department reports. Number 14, Public Safety Flock Camera Systems.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. As you know, your public safety is your council's stated number one priority in this community. And so we are always looking as a team, how do we become the most efficient and effective in delivery of public safety? It's our number one expenditure in the town of Yucca Valley. Along those lines, we're happy to have this evening Lieutenant Huff, who's going to walk through a couple of different new technologies with his team on what we're looking at. And this is a great time for exposure to new technologies that we might not have seen before. So with that, Lieutenant Huff, welcome.
Good morning, Mayor. It's the evening, right? It's been a long day. I'm on my 17th hour right now, so excuse me if I'm a little slow today, but we've had a long night. So good afternoon. Let's try this again. Good afternoon, Mayor Pro Tem and Council. So I would like to provide you with a presentation on flock safety, which is a license plate reading system. Flown in from headquarters in Georgia, I have Kristen McLeod, who is the Public Affairs Manager, and she will go ahead and provide you a technical brief on flock safety, and then following that, I will provide you with a presentation from the user standpoint of flock.
Thank you, Lieutenant Huff, and good evening, Mayor Pro Tem, and Town Council, City staff, and community. As Lieutenant mentioned, my name is Kristen McLeod, and I'm a Public Affairs Manager with Flock Safety. Very excited to share some time with you this evening. To start, I will share a little background on Flock as a company. So we're a U.S. company headquartered in Atlanta, Georgia, and we were founded in 2017 after our CEO experienced an uptick of crime in his own neighborhood. Working with local law enforcement, and he and his neighbors were quite frustrated that the property crimes that were occurring, there was no resolution. No suspects had been apprehended, and the crime continued to hurt their neighborhood. So he went to law enforcement and asked, it actually provided some personal doorbell footage that was captured. And while appreciative, law enforcement said, unfortunately, this isn't really giving us the information that we need to really dig in and have a good investigative lead. And so he asked, well, what would help? And law enforcement have shared that over 70% of crimes are committed with use of a vehicle. And so being able to have vehicle information is really critical to developing those investigative leads. With that information, an engineer by trade, he really started researching and found that license plate readers have been around since the 1970s. And he thought, what better way to provide a tool to communities to help alert them to wanted vehicles, and also an investigative tool to look for critical information. Flock's why is really, we see that law enforcement across the country are stretched very thin. Your deputies wear many different hats and work hard to address anything from mental health crises to homelessness to crimes in the community. And they're also experiencing officer shortages. It's really hard to recruit and retain law enforcement officers. And so what a lot of agencies are turning to is technology to really help multiply their force. We call this collaborative technology. So this is the technology I'm going to share with you this evening, our license plate readers, really helps officers have precision in their policing and helps multiply the force, getting them the right information at the right time to the right people. Flock as a company, you have over 1,000 mission-driven employees really working hard to create an efficient, effective, and ethical tool for your community. And we are trusted by over 5,000 communities nationwide, and I believe we're at close to 4,000 law enforcement agencies nationwide as well. We've also helped solve 10% of reported crime in the United States. This is our policing platform. Again, this evening we'll focus on our license plate readers, but we offer other products that all work together to provide critical information to law enforcement to help solve crimes and protect communities. The way Flock works is when you're under a contract with Flock, we wanted to make this a very light lift for cities. We didn't want to tax any more city resources. So we handle the installation, the ongoing maintenance of the hardware and the software. We provide all of that while you're under contract. We also help with permitting assistance. So if there is a requirement to work with permitting, say for example on state right-of-way, our team handles that and really collaborates with the law enforcement agency to provide those services. We just want this to be a plug-and-play tool for your law enforcement to use. So license plate readers, what they are is they're a camera. Let's see, wrong way. So that first, where it says LPR, that is the actual camera, and these are mounted typically to either a pole or existing infrastructure, so like a traffic light. And what they do is they take still images of the rear of a vehicle on a public road. And that image up there is a really great depiction of exactly what the cameras are capturing. So the cameras are focused on those vehicle details. And they're taken from those fixed locations, and again, from all public roads and focused on the rear of a vehicle. They provide 24-hour-a-day, 7-day-a-week coverage. And for our law enforcement customers, they're integrated with the National Crime Information Center. And so, say for example, a vehicle is wanted from another city, and that department has entered that information into the NCIC system. Once that vehicle passes by a camera in your community, it will send an alert to your deputies within about 20 seconds that that vehicle has passed by a camera in the community. We're also integrated and really have a wonderful partnership with the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. So in addition to these cameras helping provide information to wanted vehicles associated with crimes, they're also providing the location and will alert to missing persons. We also provide law enforcement the ability to create a custom hot list. So if a person is missing and time is of the essence, they're able to create a custom alert in the Flock system that will alert them to that missing person's vehicle as soon as they pass by a camera within a community. We pride ourselves on being ethically built. We do not utilize facial recognition software. This is not speed tracking. This is not a red light camera. It's simply focusing on providing indiscriminate evidence to your deputies. More on that note, we were built with privacy in mind, and the first important part there is that the data is owned by your department, by your city, and that means the department is within full control over what other law enforcement agencies they share their information with, and Flock will never sell your data to third parties. Flock automatically deletes the data at the 30-day mark. So each image that is taken is given a time to live stamp. And at the 30-day mark, that image, unless it's retained by law enforcement as part of a criminal investigation, is hard deleted and unrecoverable. So there's no long-term stockpiling of these images. There is no individual personal data in the Flock system, no names, addresses, etc. It's simply a still image of the rear of vehicles. Although there is no personal information within the Flock system, we do take data security very seriously, and all of the data is stored in the AWS cloud, and it is encrypted end-to-end. We also believe in enabling accountability and transparency. In our system, a search reason and a user number is saved indefinitely, and what that does is create an audit trail so that Lieutenant and the administrators of the system can ensure that the system is being utilized in accordance with the department's policy. We reduce bias in crime solving really by enhancing objectivity. Again, it's alerting deputies to wanted vehicles, and then it's utilized to find investigative leads with that 30-day historical information. Something unique to Flock is we offer a free and optional transparency portal. And this is an example of Riverside counties. And the transparency portal is a public-facing webpage that provides your community information on how your deputies are utilizing the system. So Riverside, that big, long list of text there, those are all of the agencies that Riverside County is sharing, other law enforcement agencies that Riverside County is sharing their camera data with. It also provides some high-level statistics, such as how many cameras are located in Riverside County and their data retention, which is 30 days, their acceptable uses of the system, as well as prohibited uses. And while this is a public-facing webpage providing information, we provide what's called an insights dashboard to the administrators of the Flock system. So Lieutenant and the administrators have access to look at how is this, are our deputies utilizing the system? What type of impact have we had on crime in the community? And so that when it comes time to renew a contract, you can really look at the data and see, is it making the impact that we wanted with this investment? That is also where the audit search history resides. So to finish up, we are working with over 400 law enforcement agencies throughout California, and then I've included a few of the neighboring-ish law enforcement agencies that are current Flock customers. And then wanted to share some examples of how law enforcement is using the system to get impact on safety. And these two instances were shared by Riverside County. The first was an armed robbery where deputies responded to an armed robbery that occurred at a jewelry store. The owner was assaulted in the head with a weapon, and witnesses were able to describe the suspect's vehicle, and deputies used that description, created a custom alert in the Flock system, and to help identify that suspect vehicle, and they were able to do so. In the second instance, there was a gang shooting that occurred in Palm Desert. A witness, again, described that suspect vehicle, and they did not have a license plate number, actually. They provided the vehicle details. And even with just the vehicle details, they were able to create an alert and eventually locate that suspect vehicle and arrest 2 suspects. This is another example of an armed robbery where LPR was utilized, again, to provide that critical investigative lead using witnesses and victims' descriptions of suspect vehicles. And then we're actually very proud of the work that law enforcement is doing with use of our LPR to help find missing vulnerable persons. We just announced a few days ago that we've helped locate over 1,000 missing persons in the U.S. And this is an example of an attempted kidnapping of a teenager where the victim and witness were able to provide, again, that vehicle's description. Deputies were able to enter that in, or officers were able to enter that information into their system and identified a vehicle that had been around the area at the time that the victim had reported the attempted kidnapping, and they were able to locate that vehicle just a few hours later, which is really remarkable. It's really like finding a needle in a haystack. So especially in these very serious instances, serious occurrences such as an attempted kidnapping, and then of course, also with our silver alerts, this is an example of a gentleman who was suffering from Alzheimer's disease, left his church in his vehicle, couldn't be located by friends or family, and with technology and use of LPR, law enforcement was able to locate him and return him safely home. And I will stop there and turn it over to Lieutenant Huff.
Thank you very much for that presentation, Kristen. So my portion of the presentation is based more on the end user side. We'll leave the technical stuff to the super smart gals like Kristen. So As far as the Sheriff's Department goes, we have a mission which is to provide collaborative law enforcement solutions, professional services, delivering quality to America's largest county. We have a vision to be a professional organization that provides quality services and innovative programs to the community that it serves. These innovative programs include the use of advanced technology such as flock safety. Okay? How do we achieve these services through innovative programs? As you all know, we have a very large geographical spread that our deputy sheriffs have to cover. We have 2,700 square miles that we cover between the Morongo Basin, between the town of Yucca Valley, 29 Palms, and the unincorporated area. Okay. However, with that, what we have to do is that we have to be target specific with our enforcement. Okay. We also have to focus on our victims. Okay. Also, in addition, our areas of responsibility include investigations, traffic, community-oriented policing, school resource officers. Okay. How do we do this? We do this with the augmentation and equitable use of technology. And as Kristen said, and as I saw on her slides multiple times, is the use of this system is most definitely a force multiplier for the deputy sheriffs that we currently have on the streets right now. Flock is unequivocally a critical and necessary tool. Approximately 15 years ago, I implemented the use of a vigilance system in the city of Highland, which is also one of the Sheriff's Department's contract cities. We have gained nothing but and found nothing but success with the use of that license plate reader system. But the difference between the two is kind of like between analog, digital, and AI. And I would believe we're more on the AI-based side with the use of flock. Okay. As previously mentioned, it's used by law enforcement personnel in nearly every jurisdiction that we have within the Sheriff's Department. At this time, the most recent contract cities that we've added the use of flock to was out of our central station, which was the city of Loma Linda and Grand Terrace. Right now, unincorporated areas near Lucerne Valley, the Victor Valley Station, Hesperia Station, flock is definitely growing within our department, so we can create this massive cell of data collection on plates so we can reduce crime and multiply our forces through the use of technology. Okay. As previously mentioned, Riverside County currently has approximately 1,000 cameras spread throughout their jurisdiction. This is super critical because in our area, we don't have any, with the exception of 29 Palms. 29 Palms entered into an agreement, a master services agreement with Flock, and we're probably about 40% near completion with their system. And we've already found a ton of success. The issue that I find as a manager is that within the Morongo Basin, we do not have any data capture. So we have a lot of local folks that are constantly committing crime that basically never leave the proverbial mountaintop and commit crimes on a daily basis from 29 Palms down through the basin. However, when we get vehicles that were already captured, say in Riverside County, down in Palm Desert area, Rancho Mirage, they come up to our area, we are able to use the Flock application. We utilize that system with vehicle identifiers, and within hours, if not less than that, we actually have our suspects in custody that are coming up in our area committing crime and then going back into another county. Okay. Flock is also located all throughout LA County, Orange County, San Diego County, and also Clark County in Nevada. Okay. I like to talk about success stories because at the end of the day, I like to see a return from this. So this is one of the examples that our deputy sheriffs at Morongo Basin were explicitly involved in. Okay, this occurred back in November of 2023, which was a murder case. Okay, Riverside Police Department, they also have the Flock system. They entered the suspect vehicle, and the suspect was wanted for 3 counts of murder. Okay, subsequent to the last murder, the suspect actually carjacked a vehicle bearing a female driver. The vehicle was captured on flock in Hesperia, utilizing their camera systems, and we were able to basically geolocate that vehicle and found that that vehicle was actually working its way through the basin off of 247. Our Morongo Basin deputies located that vehicle. We were involved in a pursuit. The suspect was firing on our deputies, and a lethal force encounter occurred with the suspect. And luckily, no one was injured, including the suspect, and our Morongo Basin deputies rescued that carjacking victim, okay? And that was merely with the use of flock. Another success story, actually this really isn't a success story, but this is how this system could have been utilized. I think everybody in the area is very familiar with this case right here with Ms. Fang Jin and Mr. Fitzpatrick, okay? Obviously, Fang was a Chinese national who was missing from the Joshua Tree area. I met with a local tour guide, which was Mr. Fitzpatrick. Our detectives were able to locate the vehicle. We utilized the flock application. Unfortunately, we were unable to get any local hits, okay? Our detectives continued with their investigation on that, and at some point in time, they expanded their geo search. And they went as far south to San Diego County, as far north to Clark County in Nevada. And they were able to locate the vehicle, the last camera that it hit, in San Diego County. Unfortunately, what happened is that the vehicle got stuck in the Anza Borrego area. We conducted a massive search in conjunction with San Diego Sheriff's Department, our aviation units, and we were able to locate the vehicle, conducted an on-ground search, and then we located Mr. Fitzpatrick and Fang as well. The unfortunate thing about this is I personally believe, and our detectives believe, that if we had this technology available to us at the time of missing, I believe wholeheartedly that we would not have been making a recovery. It would have been a rescue of the two missing persons. Dollar Tree. So I'm sure everybody here is familiar with Dollar Tree. From a law enforcement perspective, the Dollar Trees are always being robbed, okay? So in July of 2023, our detectives investigated a string of burglaries that occurred at the Dollar Tree, not only in Yucca Valley, but also in 29 Palms, okay? Both Dollar Trees have been hit multiple times. Once again, we did not have any cameras set up in the town of Yucca Valley, or at the time, even in 29 Palms. However, we did, from doing door-to-door searches, located still photos from local residential surveillance, and we were able to actually get basically a silhouette of a vehicle. Utilizing a flock, we were able to enter that vehicle description, and then lo and behold, we located the vehicle. Our deputies executed several search warrants in San Bernardino County, Riverside County, and LA County, and they recovered over $150,000 in property with six suspects in custody. And that was merely a pointer system utilizing the residential surveillance in conjunction with the flock database and then law enforcement databases. And so I don't know if anybody here has realized that the Dollar Trees haven't been hit in a while, which is a really good thing. I think everybody is very familiar with this one. This is the line fire and the bridge fire, okay, that really hit the county of San Bernardino and LA County, okay. So a little bit about this case. The line fire was back in September of last year, and the origin was in the city of Highland. City of Highland has a combination of cameras, and they also do have flocks set up. But what happened with that is I didn't even know, other than the politics that are going on today, but all these Teslas have cameras on their vehicles. So as the detectives were investigating this matter, a local neighbor said, hey, I captured this strange vehicle that was near the origin, you may want to look into it. And basically, it was a camera steal from their Tesla. So the detectives out in Highland, they went ahead and utilized Flock, and lo and behold, they were able to track that vehicle not only at the time of origin of the fire, of the line fire in Highland, but they were able to track that through LA County's camera systems and our other camera systems within San Bernardino County, and they were able to identify that vehicle being at the origin source at the time of the bridge fire as well. Okay. They also tracked the suspect down to Norco to his residence, utilizing the camera systems that Riverside sheriffs have. Okay. The registered owner was identified using law enforcement databases and through the registration. And as we know, this was a huge financial and detrimental hit to both counties. There are more than 120 vehicles lost, 90 homes lost, and over 120,000 acres that were actually burned. And the overall cost of the fire exceeded $110 million. So that was merely from the use of Flock that we have this guy in custody, and hopefully he never gets out. So that was really good. Oops, this thing's acting up, or is it me? Okay, I also want to talk a little bit about since the inception of entering into an agreement with 29 Palms. Like I said, they're about 40% into completion of their systems in 29 Palms, but immediately we've had success. The first case we actually worked, which in the grand scheme of things doesn't seem that tremendous, but from my perspective and the city's perspective and local constituents' perspective, it was huge. And this was a matter of a local contractor who was illegally dumping throughout the city of 29 Palms. So literally the first day that this camera went up, we got information on this illegal dumper. Our detectives investigated this dumper. They entered the vehicle that didn't have any license plates on it, but it did have a U-Haul trailer that was attached, but that was the pointer system that led us to this suspect that was responsible for thousands of dollars worth of damage throughout the city of 29 Palms. We've had countless recoveries of stolen vehicles already from implementing Flock with City of 29 Palms. And as we all recall, in January 2024, we had the fatal hit and run on Avalon and 62 involving Mr. Ibarra. The reason we were able to locate that suspect and where he took his vehicle down to Riverside County was merely because of the Flock system. And that's how we were able to track this guy, locate the owner, locate that he was, identify that he was a local business owner, take him in custody, and obviously he's still facing charges on that, okay? Another case that we had that we just finished, one of our detectives just returned from Florida, the Mojave Desert Land Trust. I'm sure you all are familiar with that. There was an embezzlement case with that initially started in the 300,000s. Now it's growing to over $1 million in embezzled funds from the company and title holders. So utilizing Flock, we were able to identify the registered owner of this vehicle that was always seen making these bank transactions. We executed search warrants at multiple residences that were purchased under false pretenses out in Desert Hot Springs, Cathedral City, and Rancho Mirage. And we also identified, using a national search with Flock, that he was doing the same thing in Florida. So we executed search warrants in Florida about 3 weeks ago. So there's several Florida authorities that are involved in, with this matter as well. So it's a massive system. The most recent, and I'm going to finish with this one. The most recent incident that we had was an attempted murder in 29 Palms. Suspect shot into a crowd of people. There was an intended target. He fled the area and entered into a dark-colored four-door sedan. Luckily, we had this vehicle that was captured going through some intersections in 29 Palms. Our detectives, the first thing they did, and deputies, first thing they did is they started playing with Flock, started entering these descriptors of this vehicle. They identified the vehicle, or the potential vehicle, confirmed the vehicle with witnesses, and then we ended up locating the suspect within 2 hours down in Coachella Valley. And so he's in custody currently right now on attempted murder. And so just utilizing this technology, without it, we wouldn't have made this arrest within 2 hours, in a different county, in a different city. But that's what Flock does for us. I have one more for you. How about this? I just want to add this last one in. Train heists. Very familiar with train heists that have been going on near Amboy and whatnot, which is still part of our jurisdiction. Long story short, with this one, we had a box trailer that fled from deputies. All we had was a descriptor on this vehicle. Millions of dollars worth of loss with all these train heists that these guys are committing. Deputies, within a matter of minutes, actually identified this box truck, tracked this vehicle down into Riverside County through Rancho Mirage. It was parked. They were working their way down there, and then they actually caught the vehicle in Banning with the 2 suspects. And there was probably about $500,000 worth of Apple products in the back of this truck. And that was solely from the use of Flock, which is a great thing. So,
Lieutenant, thank you so much for the presentation. I would just remind the council that this evening, this item is a presentation for the council, an introductory presentation to get you familiar with the technology, be able to provide questions of Lieutenant Huff and Ms. McLeod, and on the technical basis of the programs. If the council decides to move forward with exploring this further, we would come back to the council with a master service agreement with the cost structure. Costs for this system would be eligible out of our special revenue funds. We would also come back to the council with detail on where exactly the coverage would be in town and how the details would be implemented. So with that, we would invite the council to ask any technical questions of Lieutenant Huff or Ms. McLeod.
Okay, yeah, go right ahead. Councilmember Dennison.
Thank you, Lieutenant. Christine, thank you for the presentation today. I've been a proponent of this for quite a long time, and I follow the LPRs out there and the crimes that they solve, which is great. And certainly some of the examples that you showed, it could have been a different outcome too if we'd had this system in place. One thing that Christine had mentioned is that it doesn't use facial recognition in there, but and then it tracks front and rear plates. Does it also, though, capture occupants within the vehicle to be used later for law enforcement to verify that that's who's involved?
Thank you so much. That's a great question. So it's really focused on the rear of a vehicle. It is possible that someone could be captured if they were in the back seat and the timing was right. But in our system, there is no way to filter or search for a person. So while it's possible the still image could have someone's face in it, there is no way to search the system for a face.
Thank you.
Councilmember Schooler, do you have anything?
A couple of things. Thank you. Thank you for the presentation. I've heard nothing but good things about Flock. How long does it take to install it? You said 29 Palms is 40% installed. Is that, how long is the total and how big is their project?
We'll kind of tag team on this one. So the 40% that's completed, those are the camera systems that are within the city's jurisdiction. We're also working along Highway 62, which we're trying to encapsulate this corridor of 62. So obviously that's state property, and they're still going or nearing completion of the permitting process for that. And that's the remaining camera systems and intersections that we're waiting for.
Okay, and you looks like you recommend 5 intersections as a starting point for Yucca Valley, so that would be on the highway, 5 intersections. What would you envision eventually, to have the system fully effective in Yucca Valley?
Eventually, the first 5 intersections would basically be a phase 1, and that's to encapsulate the business district, the business corridor there. There would be a phase 2 that would encapsulate a couple more intersections. The total number of intersections would be 9 intersections, encapsulating 31 total camera systems. But what those intersections would do as well, they would work south of 62 and north of 62 near the heights and working their way up towards the unincorporated areas.
Okay, and then, I mean, it's amazing technology, but every vehicle that goes through the intersection, the license plate is red. But then they get pinged when there's somebody, when you're looking for somebody? How does that?
Yes, so that is correct. Every vehicle that passes by a camera, they're motion activated, so a still image is captured. Those images are hard deleted at the 30-day mark unless they're retained and downloaded as evidence in a criminal investigation by the sheriff's office. And the alerts work, so with NCIC, which is the National Crime Information Center, so any law enforcement agency, if there is a suspect in a crime and they have an associated vehicle, say it's a stolen vehicle, they enter that information into that system. We're integrated with that system. So if that stolen vehicle passes by a camera in a community, it will send the alert to deputies immediately. And then the same with Amber Alerts, the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. And then law enforcement is also able to create custom hot lists. So in the event, NCIC, sometimes there are thresholds of what criteria that needs to be met to enter something into that system. With a custom hot list, the department is able to enter something that is time sensitive and critical to create that alert so that it's immediate. So if that wanted vehicle passes by a camera in your community or a neighboring community, that's a flock customer, that alert will also be sent to deputies.
Okay, that's amazing. And it's an impressive list of agencies that are already up and running with it. I appreciate the concern for privacy. I know it's kind of a tough balance to concern yourself with that, but I appreciate that, and thank you for providing all these success stories. It really sells the product, so thanks for the presentation.
Councilmember Lombardo, you have anything?
Yeah, I want to thank you both for the presentation. Are there upgrades planned in the future that would be things that we'd be interested in knowing about now?
What kind of upgrades are you referring to?
Well, I see a lot of incredible potential for this. And things like, we had an incident of home invasion burglaries where suspects were coming from a different town. We had limited information on who and what was going on, but apparently the sheriff's department was able to get enough information to track them down eventually and arrest them, from what I understand. Do you remember that incident that happened in the country club area? It might have been before your time.
Yeah, it doesn't sound familiar.
I've been here too long. No. But I could see where, because we only have so many pathways through our community, that things like that would be useful. It records all the numbers regardless of whether they're being looked for or not, and then you can prompt the system to retrieve those numbers. Is that correct? So like, it takes pictures of every car that goes through the downtown area. You have a robbery or something that happens that comes to light a day or two later, like it's a weekend, a Sunday night, somebody gets broken into, they don't know about it till Wednesday that, oh my God, somebody broke into the back of my office and took this. You can go back, and is it time sensitive as well? So you can say what cars passed this point at 12:30, and you can find out what license plate numbers. Now, do you have to have an incident in order to find out who the registered owners are in order to investigate further, or is that just that you had a robbery and it coordinates with this? Is that enough to trigger something?
Yes, typically per our department policy, is that we have to be working in an active investigation. Okay. So we will either enter a case number or an incident number to be able to access that data per our policy.
Okay.
So regarding like the locating of these vehicles, typically most victims or witnesses, they're able to just identify a type of car and the color. Very rarely, when they do get license plate, do they get the license plate in its entirety. Okay.
I see.
So that's where we utilize further investigative tools, law enforcement databases, to actually determine as to whether or not that was the vehicle that we were looking for, including a vehicle lineup per se. We would show these vehicles to potential witnesses in conjunction with a license plate, and then we would, utilize our law enforcement databases to find out who the registered owners are, who has been cited in the vehicle, and whatnot. So it completely expedites that portion of the investigation as far as the identification goes.
Okay. And would a similar system be useful? The town has to deal with things like graffiti and vandalism of our public parks. Is it a system that could be adapted to be used in that kind of situation for visual identification of suspects? Or is it just not applicable at all?
Just the vehicle.
So for parks and that use case specifically, we find many cities and agencies are interested in live video. And we have a live video product that actually has something called a guardian mode, which, so say if you have a city park that has, and you have a curfew at 10 p.m., you can set guardian mode. So after 10 p.m., if there is motion, a person or a vehicle, it will alert to that situation. So many cities find that that's a useful tool, but that's a different product, but we do have that available.
Very interesting. Because we've had incidences too, like at the end of the school year where the schools get vandalized, or right before school starts and they steal all the computers, things like that become an expensive ordeal for the person going through it. And if that technology was incorporated, it could be a useful deterrent and help you capture the perpetrators too. I see lots of good things for it. I'm a little concerned about, like you, the privacy issue of, at what point do you start to identify people and not. But I think you've got a good handle on it for the law enforcement of the use of the license plate reader, and I think it's a useful tool for our town to keep it safer.
Yes, thank you. And I should mention that the products do work together, right? So if you have the live video and that alert, you can utilize that footage to then, as Lieutenant described, get that vehicle information,
Sure.
Find plate information. And I think really worth highlighting is that the Sheriff's Department has a really strong policy in place, and that really mitigates risk and really protects folks' privacy. And as Lieutenant mentioned, requiring that specific search reason really provides a way for them to make sure that it's being used in accordance with department policy and protecting your constituents' privacy.
Because I'm very much in favor of protecting privacy issues, but I don't want the criminals to feel like they're going to be safe. So if there's a way to detect them, I think we got to do it.
All right, Mayor Pro Tem Abel.
Yeah, thank you for your presentation. I think you gave us an idea of why this is something we should consider, obviously. One thing you did not mention, well, you sort of did, but didn't mention specifically, is the cooperation between cities and agencies. So from what I understand, when I first heard about the flock system, I was at a conference, and the city manager from Rancho Mirage says, oh my gosh, you got to go to this booth. You got to talk to these people. It's really changed what's going on in our city. And he knows Yucca Valley is not really financially affluent, and that we are very limited on how many law enforcement officers we can afford. And he said, this is a good opportunity to stretch your law enforcement dollars. Instead of hiring another deputy, you can help your deputies by getting this flock system. So I went and talked to him at the booth, and I found it very interesting. I believe you had a short list, but I believe almost every city in the low desert has a flock system, and I believe every city has agreed to cooperate and to share information because we all want to solve crime. So the last thing I would like to do is have our area a little black hole that doesn't have a flock system, and criminals find out, they're getting caught here, their friends are getting caught. Yucca Valley doesn't have anything. Let's go up there and let's steal stuff off the porches up there. Let's break into homes during the day or at night up there. So I think it's really important. The other thing is we have some unique areas as well where there's a neighborhood and there's really only one or two entrances to that neighborhood and exits. So I know this is phase one, but I'd be very interested in, when we expand it, to be able to say, okay, this is the way to come in and out of this particular neighborhood. And then if the deputies get a report, because the crime rate, one person can spike our crime rate really high just because of an activity. So they go and steal catalytic converters at 4 locations, and all of a sudden our crime rate is out of hand, or stealing items off of porches. So I really would like to see it eventually expand into certain neighborhoods. And then I also understand that some even private, well, we don't have gated communities here, but let's say a mobile home park wants to protect their residents and they can't afford somebody at the gate, they could put a flock system there, maybe get a grant, or maybe the city would, the town would help them with some of the monies. And then they know if anything bad happened in that little mobile home park, they went by that camera, and then the deputy has a really good chance of locating it. What I really like about the system is just not the license plate, it's somebody just stole a child on my street, or somebody grabbed a package off my neighbor's porch. I didn't see the license plate. It was a blue truck with a little sticker on the back window. And this is the time it happened. Didn't take long for the deputy, just put in the computer, blue truck, sticker, and it'll automatically filter and just give you any truck that came by that was blue in color or dark in color with the sticker. And now they've narrowed it down. So I think it would help in any type of petty theft, as well as these huge crimes that you were commenting on or talking about earlier.
You're absolutely correct, and everything you said is exactly what the system does. And sheriffsjobs.com, we are hiring, sir. It sounds like you've got this down.
Anyway, I think everybody asked the questions more actually than I was thinking, so that's great. So thank you, Christina and Lieutenant Huff, for the great presentation.
Thank you.
Next, we're moving on to item 15.
Mayor, a couple
yes.
of items. Number one, you didn't take public comment. You should provide an opportunity for the public to comment on the last item.
Oh, yes.
And then if there's any specific direction, otherwise I think staff heard of general favor, but if you want to clarify that after public comment, that would be helpful.
Okay, so let's open it up to the public. I'm sorry I didn't do that. So is there anyone in the public that would like to make a comment on this? So come on up, whoever wants to come first.
Clarify that it's for this.
These guys, why don't they keep them in jail? They're out the next day, so what's the point? I don't get it. I mean, they really do let them out the next day.
So are you,
Somebody posted that their house was broken into just on a couple days ago.
can you speak into the microphone?
Go to the microphone,
The
state your name.
microphone?
And they stole a bunch of guitars and stuff, and it was on their surveillance in their house. So the people are recognizable. I don't know if they caught them or if they even try to catch them, but when they do get these people, they seem to be out of jail the next day, and then they just commit more crimes. It's like they laugh at the whole system.
think they're laughing
So
at
that's all I gotta say.
Thank you. Could you give your name to Leslie? Okay, thank you. And the next person.
Yeah, can you just fill out a form for me?
All right, good evening. I'm Pat Wallace, live on 5290 Yucca Mesa Road. I just had a couple concerns. I work in high tech, and I work with AI actually a bunch. So I do have some concerns about privacy. I guess number one, Flock, I assume, is a private entity. They say data is flushed out every 30 days. I guess that's a positive. What are the sharing limitations internally? Is it limited to county sheriff's department personnel? Could it be requested by other entities? Could it be sold to other private organizations? It's a bit of a slippery slope when you talk about privacy in particular. The last council member was leading further and further into, maybe the next proposition would be, maybe it'd be good to have a camera in front of everybody's home. So I just want to put a warning out there that, I want to stop crime as much as anybody else. But maybe a better answer would be, creating, putting more money into community watch organizations that are where we can get participants from actual community members, rather than sloughing off our own community responsibility to tech. So that's just my personal suggestion. So thank you for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you for your comment. Is there anyone else that wants to comment online or in person? No? So, I guess that's it. Do we, let's see here. So that's just a presentation, so there's,
This presentation, if you want to provide any specific direction, if you'd like to see this come back to you in a more formal proposal, then we'd be happy to schedule that.
I would.
Yeah, I would too.
I would also.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Now we're moving on to item 15, general fund and Measure Y partnership funding allocations.
Mayor, I'd like to recuse myself from this item on the advice of council. I'm going to recuse myself. I serve on the board of High Desert Pregnancy Clinic in an unpaid director position, so.
All right, thank you.
Hello, I'm Bree. I'm in the finance department, so I'll be doing this. So this is our presentation for the 25-26 partnership funding. The Revenue Measure Oversight Commission reviewed and approved a recommendation to include the annual partnership program in the adopted 24-26 measure-wide budget.
Could you speak louder, please?
Yes, please. Or speak more into the mic.
The applications were individually scored based on the town council's approved general policy guidelines for the use of the partnership funding allocation as developed by the Revenue Measure Oversight Commission. We received applications like a month or so ago, and there was a total of 34 applications. This is the scoring criteria that went, all the applications. The local services predominantly in the town of Yucca Valley for public purposes, per capita resident reach of the program, unique services not duplicated by other providers, the impact of funding on the program and related cost of participants, stability in the history of the organization within the town, and prior funding recipient. These are the recommended measure-wide partners. There's 8 of them. The full scorecard is in the agenda, and the funding is up to $100,000. The total approved budget for the 25-26 partnership program is $100,000. Full allocation of the total approved budget is included in the recommendation. The next funding availability is anticipated to be released in February 26 for the 26-27, and the partnership workshop has been developed to assist with application development and program education and outreach. So the council recommendation is to approve the allocation of the town's 25-26 measure-wide partnership budget of $100,000 in accordance with the individual scoring results as presented. And that's all I got.
All right, thank you.
Oh, let me go back to the scorecard. There you go.
Thank you.
Okay.
So Jordan's going to chime in. I'm not sure. But this is it.
Jordan, can you hear us?
Yes, thank you. Hopefully everyone can hear me okay. I can't see anyone with the screen up, but thank you, Bree, for that introduction to the item. I just wanted to add a few comments here for going through the recommended partners and allow council an opportunity to ask these specific partners questions before we open up to public comment. First, I want to thank the finance staff. We have both Bree and Irina in attendance tonight. They put in a lot of legwork and administrative hours to gather all 34 applications, all of the backup documentation, answer questions, go through a lot of paperwork. So they both put a lot of hours on this, and I appreciate their effort and attendance while I couldn't be there this evening. This is the list of the 8 applicants that are recommended for funding for the 25-26 funding cycle. We did have a sign-in sheet that Irina was able to put together for these applicants. I believe she gathered signatures from everyone in attendance in person, and then we have a few online. We are missing one confirmation from the Animal Authority Rescue Team. If they're in attendance this evening, it'd be great if they could either raise their hand online or let the council know that they are in attendance. If you have any questions, otherwise everyone else would be available to answer questions that you may have. Other than that, I will see if council has any questions specifically for the partners listed here, and then we can go to public comment.
I have a quick question. This is Mayor Pro Tem Abel. So the Citizens Oversight Committee are the ones that established the $100,000 this year?
Correct. We present the recommended budget for Measure Y funding to the Revenue Measure Oversight Commission with our biannual budget process. So they review that funding allocation. Measure Y is split between three major categories. That's public safety, infrastructure, and quality of life. The Measure Y Partnership Program is part of the quality of life funding. And so their recommendation for that portion for the Measure Y programs this year was $100,000.
And how many people are on the Citizens Oversight Committee?
It has varied recently. I think Curtis may be able to confirm how many commissioners we have at this particular time, or how many were in attendance during the budget adoption. I think it was 5 to 7.
Yeah, the
or
board is
even-
set at 7 members.
7 members. Okay.
Seven.
Thank you.
Great.
That's all my questions.
Thank you.
Anyone else have questions? Any council members? No.
I noticed several of the names from years past. Are there new names on, I'm not familiar with Spark Growth. Were they a recipient in the years past?
Yes, if you, we also have this noted on the final scorecard. So the two new applicants this year are Tri-Valley Little League. The town has worked with this organization in years past, just not with this specific program. And then the Animal Authority Rescue Team is also a new applicant. So we would be introducing them to the partnership program process, the required progress reports throughout the funding cycle.
Okay,
The rest of the applicants have completed all of the required reporting in their prior years.
all right, thank you.
Do you have anything?
I just want to thank the Oversight Commission. This is one thing that we do annually to help out our community, and we've used it many times and to provide relief in many ways in the community. It's been our budget every year, and there's a lot of recipients that reach out. And we do encourage those that didn't qualify or receive funding this year, because this is cyclical. We'll go back, and one of the criteria is if they've received funding in the past, we really try our best to balance out the amount of money that we have allocated to provide as much support in our community. This year, it looks like it focused a lot on youth and active lifestyles, and also young adults. One of the Spark Growth has been mentioned. They've been here before and has given a great presentation to council, and I remember them very well. Tri-Valley Little League, as we know, they've had a resurgence of growth. And sometimes those quick spurts of growth expand beyond the capability for equipment. I'm glad that we can support them this year to continue with their program. And the other new one is the Animal Rescue Team. So both of those are new applicants, and I'm glad that we got to see what their mission is and support them in moving forward. But I do agree with the presentation today and the distribution amounts to the recipients.
Okay, I don't think I have any questions, so.
Mayor, if I might just ask Jordan to identify the recommended amounts relative to the original amounts sought in the application, and if there were reductions in those recommended awards.
Yes, that's no problem. So all of the applicants, except for one, the Yucca Valley Church of the Nazarene, did receive a reduction in the funding requested. So we did notice that there was a significantly larger amount. The total amount requested of all 34 applicants was $645,000. So there was a lot of funding that was requested. Obviously, all these organizations have major needs. So we tried to distribute as equitably as possible based off of the specific program information. So some are able to identify how much of each funding can go to which item. So we were able to mostly reduce these applicants down so that we can do a more even spread, and also ensure that we're not over spreading the administration of the program as well, so we can continue to assist these 8 partners as we do the required reporting, et cetera.
I have one more question.
Was that what you wanted? Okay. All right, so let's.
One question.
Oh, go right ahead.
Because these are public funds derived from taxes in the city in the town of Yucca Valley, they cannot be spent on projects or things outside of the city or city resident use. Is that correct?
So we do require some reporting. The Revenue Measure Oversight Commission established at the beginning of this partnership program to have expenditure reporting as part of the program. So we have a progress report and a final report. We ask that all recipients of the funds provide basically an expenditure, a bank register that shows, ensures that the funding was allocated to the specific programs. We don't have any sponsorships in this program, but in prior years, if we were sponsoring, such as we had dance classes in prior years, we did ask that they would identify that they were town residents. But some of these do expand to the, not everyone attending these services will be specific in town, but the majority is requested to be, if that makes sense.
Okay, it makes sense, but they don't specifically evaluate 60% of the participants were from the town and 40% were not, and then distribute the money based on those numbers, like they requested, $10,000, but only 40% are
No, that's not one of our
residents.
criteria.
They don't do that. Okay.
No.
Thank you.
All right, let's open this up for public comment. So if anyone, Okay, yes, let's see, any of the organizations here. So let's start with High Desert Pregnancy Clinic. Is anybody here? Okay, okay, go ahead.
Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem, and the council. I'm Lisa Baldwin. I am the Executive Director at the High Desert Pregnancy Clinic, and we are very grateful for this help. We are completely funded by grants and donations, and God continues to provide, but this would be a great blessing for us. We do offer all our services for free in the community. We offer parenting classes and fatherhood classes and any needs that any woman or family needs for their infants or toddlers, as well as pregnancy tests and ultrasounds. And I don't know if you have any questions. We have a lot of fees that are associated with license and affiliate support groups and things like that. So that's a big chunk of our budget.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
You do good work.
Okay, next, next, if anybody's here from the Boys and Girls Club, would you like to speak?
Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem, Council. My name is Shannon Tigerson, and I'm the Executive Director at the Boys and Girls Club. First off, thank you so much for including us in this grant. It makes a huge difference for our youth. We were able to raise or lower our cost from $65 a week to $20 a month. So it really allows more families in the community to benefit from the services of the Boys and Girls Club. So without the support from our community, our grants, our donations, we wouldn't be able to keep our doors open and have a safe place for kids before and after school. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And is anyone here from Morongo Basin Tennis Association that would like to speak?
Good guys.
Good evening, I'm Ronald Fortna. I'm the treasurer of the Morongo Basin Tennis Association. This will be our 6th year of funding from the council. We appreciate it very much, and I guarantee you the parents of our tennis students appreciate it. To answer Councilor Lombardo's question, the Morongo Basin Tennis Association is for the Morongo Basin, and generally 80 to 90% of the participants live in Yucca Valley. But we do have students from all over the basin, and we've been pleased this year. We had 4 of our students, either existing students or prior students that were on the high school teams. One girl on the 29 Palms girl, one on the Yucca Valley girls team, one on the 29 Palms team, and the captain of the Yucca Valley tennis team this year is one of our students, has been in the program for 5 years.
Wow.
So we really appreciate it, and we feel like we're really getting results from the continuing program. Thank you very much.
Very good.
Very cool, thank you. Is there anyone from Reach Out Morongo Basin that would like to speak?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, Town Council, and city and town staff. Since 2007, Reach Out Morongo Basin has enjoyed the support and the partnership with the city, or the town of 29, or I'm so sorry, the town of Yucca Valley. We have partnered together with you to help the most vulnerable people in our community, which is our seniors. To answer Councilmember Lombardo's questions, in 2024, Reach Out Morongo Basin served 2,347 clients within the Morongo Basin and did 10,641 trips with our vans. Wow. To break that down, 886 of those clients, unduplicated clients, lived right here in Yucca Valley. We drove them to doctor's appointments, shopping, errands, Social Security office, wherever they needed to go, that's where we take them. We provided 52 residents of the town of Yucca Valley with fall prevention services, from grab bars to wheelchair ramps to lifting recliners and all kinds of services that they could stay home and live independently. And we also provided them with fall prevention education. We had 3 senior homeowners that were provided with major yard work projects from we had active duty naval personnel from the Marine Corps Air Ground Combat Center who we partner with. They go out and help. We took 80 of the seniors from the Yucca Valley Senior Center on a lunch outing to Let's Feast Buffet to get them out and let them go have some fun in the community. And we have our new office here in the town, which is located on the corner of Church and Pima Trail. We understand that, we've had our partnership with the town, and we were very graciously, and been on I'm sorry, I get so nervous. Anyways, we were really appreciative of the town space that you offered us in the senior center. We understand that with the remodeling now, you're going to be repurposing that and utilizing it for more activities, but we wanted to keep our presence, so we have our new office. And we appreciate the town's support in helping us keep that so that we can continue in our partnership to take care of our seniors. Thank you so very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great work.
Is there anyone here from Spark Growth that wants to speak?
Spark Growth is online if Melanie wants to unmute herself.
Yes, hello, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Good evening, Mayor and members of the Yucca Valley Town Council. I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you today. My name is Melanie and I represent Spark Growth, which is a local nonprofit dedicated to nurturing a love of reading, creativity, and connection among children and families here in Yucca Valley. Our town is full of bright, curious young minds, but access to books, art supplies, and enriching creative experiences should never depend on a family's income. Our mission is to impact that by providing these tools directly to children and creating joyful, inclusive spaces where families can get together. Through our free book and art supply giveaway and family enrichment activities, we're doing more than encouraging literacy and imagination. We're helping build a stronger, more connected community. Parents and children meet neighbors they hadn't known, and they collaborate on projects and leave not just with materials, but with meaningful memories. This year, our focus has been on engaging families and caregivers more actively, and the results have been remarkable. Attendance for our recent giveaway grew from 333 to an incredible 420 enthusiastic participants. Wow. This increase is more than a number. It reflects growing trust, interest, and the hunger for accessibility and meaningful experiences. One mother recently told us, "My son used to be quiet and keep to himself, but after painting with Spark Growth and talking to other kids, he came home and asked if he could make cards for our neighbors. He's starting to open up, and I can't thank you enough. Moments like that remind us when we put books and brushes in children's hands, we're not just sparking creativity, we're planting seeds of connection, confidence, and community. We're deeply proud of the progress we've made, but we know there's still so much more work to do in supporting families on their literacy and creative journeys. That's why we're here today, to request your support in expanding this work. With this funding, we can reach even more families and offer more supplies and enrichment to continue to strengthen the bonds that make Yucca Valley a vibrant community for all. Your investment will help make Yucca Valley a place where children have the tools to grow and where every family feels like they belong. Thank you for your time, for your ongoing commitment to our community, and for considering this opportunity to help us build not only imagination, but a stronger, more united Yucca Valley.
Beautiful.
Thank you very much.
Yay.
Is there anyone here from Tri-Valley Little League that would like to speak? Or online?
There we go.
There we go.
Good evening. My name's Debbie Carter. I'm the treasurer for Tri-Valley Little League. I've been there for the 5 seasons this year. The children are needed for exercise, and then we need to teach them camaraderie, teach them to get along, how to go through situations, win, lose, how to be a good model for each and every child under them that they're working with. This year was one of our more successful years of getting the teams more equal. We made sure that we didn't have all one team that was winning the whole season, because that makes the teams that lose very unhappy and sad, and they don't want to play next year. So this year, we really got it together. But we did need funding for equipment. Our teams went to state, not state, but district, and came home with several banners. And this year, we want to put together some teams to bring home the banners for Yucca Valley, because we go to Yucca and Banning and we get slaughtered so bad. But this year, we're going to build teams, but we needed equipment. We need our kids to go looking like, together, not just peace period, we've got this excuse me, catcher's gear. We wanted them to go say, this is Yucca Valley, and they're not, we get a bad rep because those teams there have money put into them. The leagues are put in, they're baseball towns, Yucaipa and Banning and Beaumont. So this year, we want to come back with some banners, and we want to go looking good this year. So we would thank the council for their help and funding for the equipment we need for this year. And we thank the council and the town of Yucca Valley for all the help that they've given us and working more and more together since Tri-Valley's, they're doing that transition where it used to be Tri-Valley's property. And previous board members were having a little problem saying, let go of it. It's not yours anymore. It's the town, so we got to work. And I think this year we've come together a little better than they have in the past. And I thank the council for all their help and their support, and the town. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is anybody here or online that wants to speak for Yucca Valley Church of the Nazarene?
Good evening, Town Council. I want to say how much we appreciate you, and we want to thank you for the wonderful gifts that you gave us. It's really going to help the community of Yucca Valley get the food that they need with the prices that are going up. We're going to be able to purchase more food for these people and give them our love with the products. We thank you, and we ask that you bless each and every one of our people that come through the line. Thank you. We appreciate you, and have a good evening. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next is Animal Authority Rescue Team. Is anybody here or online? Online.
Oh,
there we go.
They're coming up.
Hi, I'm from Animal Authority Rescue Team, and James is going to speak on my behalf because my anxiety will not allow me to. So,
you can take away my public comment. I was going to make a public comment on this anyway. Crystal and Animal Authority Rescue Team are powerhouses in the animal world here in the Morongo Basin and have been for a long time. The organization, the operation is very thankful to the town for stepping forward to provide funding and support of the services that they offer. Their services, I actually read all of your applications online, all 34 of them. There's a lot of great ones. And AART is really focused on the low-cost spay and neuter services and providing supportive services to families in need. Crystal does not take a salary from this. She does this out of the goodness of her heart. She's a combat veteran and is kind of everything that so many of us here wish we could be in terms of providing for animals. And I'm sorry she couldn't speak. She didn't feel up to it right now. So I'll just say thank you to the town of Yucca Valley on behalf of AART. I am not associated with them. I'm just happy to talk. I'm sure Crystal will pass on whatever she needs to when she has the opportunity. So thank you.
Thank you. Now, is there anyone in the general public that would like to speak on this, speak on this item?
Mayor, we have a request to speak from Astrid Johnson.
All right, Astrid.
First, I wanted to thank you for at least reading our application, and I'm sure it was considered. But I wanted to kind of caution you, because what Morongo Basin Arch, we cover 4 areas. We cover street outreach, emergency sheltering, which is bridging, keeping people in a motel for a short period of time, homeless prevention cases, which can be arrears, paying utilities, water bills, and what's called rapid rehousing, paying their deposit, first month's rent. I get calls, personally, I get calls all the time that I call them the 211 calls. 211 refers them to Morongo Basin Arch, and I'm usually the one receiving the calls. We get a great deal of calls for Yucca Valley. And especially the most common call is eviction prevention cases. I know of several right now that are looking for the money to stay in their homes. They're either individuals, couples, or their families. So Arch doesn't have the funds to cover them. We are desperately looking for other nonprofits. A lot of the nonprofits are in a hiatus period right now, and they are not allocating funds either. Yeah. So I hope you will consider next year, I understand you're balancing with the youth, that's admirable, but don't forget also you've got this ongoing problem with housing out here. And I know one case right now of a young lady who's pregnant, desperately trying to get into a rental. And, I keep directing her to different people, hoping we can find somebody who's going to pay her rent to get her in before she has her baby. Otherwise, she's living in a car. So keep in mind, I know nonprofits, we always suffer, I call it feast or famine. Either we have the money or we don't have the money. And it's because of the generosity of the donors that we have the funds to be able to reach out and cover more people. So please consider us next year. Thank you.
Thank you, Astrid. Is there anyone else in the public that would like to speak? I see one person.
Jeff Grabo from Flying Doctors.
Or is Jeff here or online?
He was here.
Oh, okay. Well, go ahead. You can go ahead.
Hi, my name's Danielle GDC Wallace, and I'm with Milltree. Our vision is to end veteran isolation. We do that by reintegrating veterans into community through the arts, shared projects, and dialogue. We wanted to thank you for the support in the past and the opportunity to apply again. Unfortunately, we didn't receive funding this year, but I just wanted to say it's more important than ever to really support the nonprofit organizations who are the quiet backbones of our communities. We're seeing rising prices and decreased opportunities for funding, and we wanted to just applaud the city for this program and hope it will consider increasing funding for these important organizations in the future. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is Jeff here yet, or no? I guess he
Jane
left.
Marie Alfahulu.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Jane Marie Ofuhulu. Yes, that name you've probably seen on real estate signs and not sure how to say. That would be me. You're not alone, trust me. I'm also the new executive director at Basin Wide Foundation, and it's an honor to stand here tonight among the doers, dreamers, and difference makers of our growing town. You light the path forward, and I'm just here to bring a little extra spark. While we weren't recommended for funding this round, I'm here tonight to introduce myself and to reaffirm the mission that drives my foundation. Myself and my board remain all in on it, partnering with individuals, nonprofits, and local governments to improve life and economic vitality in the Morongo Basin. We may have hit a bump on the road, but the mission keeps moving, and so do we, with purpose and partnership. And hey, either way, these funds are going to other nonprofits that will use them wisely. And I know that it couldn't have been an easy decision, and I respect it fully. On behalf of Basin Wide Foundation, I want to extend a heartfelt thank you to the town of Yucca Valley and to all those who have backed Measure Y. Your continued commitment has made a real difference, funding essential public safety services, maintaining our roads and our parks, and improving quality of life in our town. Thanks to your support, Measure Y is doing exactly what it was meant to do, delivering real, lasting benefits to the people who call this place home. And that's something to celebrate. It's proof that we at Basin Wide say, together we can, and we as a town actually mean it. So thank you, and I look forward to meeting many of you soon, and hopefully find ways we can partner in the future.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else present in person that would like to speak? How about online? No? Okay, let's take it back to the council. Do any council members have anything to say?
I know I've already said a little bit, but thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to thank again everyone that submitted their application and the comments by the speakers and also the recipients and those that didn't get funding this year, but they know that to continue the process and moving forward. One thing I'd like to mention is Measure Y has been going on for quite some time, and as people consider using the opportunity for grants, that we do have workshops prior to, this will be in February of this coming year, that will help you understand better the scoring system that you were showing the categories on the screen, and some coaching and helping you to achieve as much as you can during the selection process. Because all of these agencies and groups and nonprofits are important for our community. They're kind of the glue that keep everything together and keep the people sometimes their heads above water, as Astrid Johnson had mentioned through ARCH. So there's a lot of groups out there that help our seniors specifically, even us. There were some changes as we remodeled the senior center, looking to give them even more support to pair well with a lot of these organizations that provide other activities. I was very excited about the comment of getting a lot of our seniors together on a group trip so they can go out and experience different things all together, and that's what creates a lot of fellowship. So thank you for all your efforts from all of you.
Thank you. Councilmember Lombardo, you have anything?
I just want to thank everybody for making your applications, and I want to thank the committee that allocates the funding from Measure Y to these projects. They all seem worthy to me. It's difficult to come up with a budget of $100,000 when there's $650,000, almost $650,000 worth of requests. It must be very difficult to figure out which ones to do that. I'm glad that they have a numbering system by assigning points to various criteria. It gives us a better indication of ranking, and I think that I'm in favor of the way that they've distributed the money. I just wish we had more. But.
All Right, Mayor Pro Tem.
Yeah, I want to thank everyone. You work for a nonprofit. You're not there for the money. You're there to really help the community. What I like about this program, this block grant program, is that nonprofits know how to use every penny that they get. They don't waste it, and it goes a lot further. And you can do things that the town isn't equipped to do, doesn't have the staffing to do, or doesn't know where the needs are really at. So this program really allows us to put some money, taxpayer money, to some nonprofits to really help the local person, right, boots on the ground type of thing. Crystal, I want to thank you for speaking up. I have a policy that I won't give away public funds to any organization that's not here to talk about their organization, why they want those monies. And so by you speaking up, it allowed me to support you and what you do. And so I know it takes a lot of courage to come up here and speak on a microphone. Let me just tell you, if I was on that side speaking this direction, I would be nervous, because I have been on that side speaking before, and it's a totally different feeling. So I want to thank all those that were here tonight online as well as here in person. And I'm very confident that the money that we're providing you will multiply and do well. And so thank you for applying, and I appreciate it. I would like to move the item if there's no further discussion after the mayor says his comments.
Yes, I just want to say congratulations to all the recipients. It's well-deserved. It's just too bad we can't give more out, but we can't. So that's it. But congratulations to everyone.
All second.
Council members Abel?
Yes.
Dennison?
Yes.
Lombardo?
Yes.
And Mayor Droz?
Yes. Now we're moving on to item number 16, Animal Shelter 90-day operational review. Update number 2, Animal Shelter Specialist position, Town Council Ad Hoc Committee, Volunteer and Foster Program.
Is Schooler back? Oh, there he is. Hiding out.
We'll give just a minute for the council to get back settled.
Hey, buddy.
Does anybody need a break? Anything?
Go to the next slide.
You guys all okay?
All right, thank you, Mayor and Council. Following the council's direction provided in March, your management team is continuing its operational review of the Yucca Valley Animal Shelter operations. The April 1st Town Council meeting, we provided the first update that focused on initial observations. So this evening, we're providing the second update in the review process. Building off of the initial review, staff is going to continue to develop initial observations into actual policy, actionable policy considerations for the Town Council, and then implementation in the near, mid, and long-term planning horizons. Again, we're going to do this as a tag team in covering different portions of tonight's presentation, and then we will end the discussion this evening with a number of specific recommendations for Town Council consideration. We look forward to receiving public comment, council discussion and deliberation, and then finally council direction on the recommendations as desired by the council. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Shane to begin the presentation.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I want to start out with a reminder on the public comments that have been heard by the council since this process had been initiated. Those comments included discussion on euthanasia rates, adoption rates, return to owner rescue groups, the town's use of rescue groups, implementing a foster program as well as a volunteer program, having information for all animals at the shelter online, so folks have that information available at their fingertips. The desire to view animals that are in the impound kennel holding those animals that are still available for the owner to reclaim within those time periods as prescribed by state law. Euthanasia without sedation, temperament assessment, extended holiday hours, and a friendlier facility. So those, I think, capture many of the comments that the council had heard at the start of this process. So what actions has the town taken at this point in terms of responding to those public comments? First of all, Pet Finder, Adopt a Pet, the animal shelter Facebook pages are updated weekly. This has been accomplished through allocation of staff outside of the animal shelter. Animal shelter staff alone cannot keep these updated. We do not have sufficient staff at that level, so you've had engineering and planning staff that have been assisting in that process. The town has begun the use of local media here in the basin, both radio as well as the printed media, and has also attempted to maximize the use of social media. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. We know that our data process is lacking. We have implemented some changes in our processes on data and data review, and we know that modernization of our systems are very important for the accuracy of that data that comes out, whether that be on a daily, weekly, monthly, or annual basis. Scheduling of low-cost spay and neuter clinics. The town will be holding its first ever spay-neuter clinic here between the month of May and June. The actual date has not been set yet. That will be available for Yucca Valley residents. We are reaching out with the county, the town's partners in the shelter, and encouraging the county to participate and hold similar events for county residents in the Morongo Basin, and those will be ongoing conversations. Scheduling of special adoption events. At the staff level, we anticipate year-round special adoption events where you see a reduction in fees or some other benefit for individuals to adopt animals from the shelter. You'll see those happening throughout the year. Outreach to rescue groups. Staff has continued to follow up with rescue groups. I think we had originally reached out to around 600. Many of those are closed, no longer in business. We have had follow-up communication with a little over 300 of those, and we've received about interest from about 8 of those rescue groups in partnering with the town. So it's a very low return rate, but it's still in a very, very important part of the overall process. Animals at the impound kennel are available for public viewing during open hours, so Tuesdays through Saturdays, noon to 5. So that change has been made. Volunteer opportunities. We'll be talking a little bit more about volunteer opportunities this evening. We know that volunteers are very common in shelter operations. There have been some functions identified at this point where volunteers would fit in very well. We're hopeful that we'll be successful in both recruiting and retaining volunteers in that process. Deborah, do you want to comment at all on volunteers at this point?
Certainly. Good evening, gentlemen. So in conjunction with the operational review, a review of the town's volunteer program and policy is also being conducted. As is done with every town policy, periodic review and updates are essential to ensure relevance and effectiveness. The review is being conducted with the input from the departments that would actively utilize volunteers, which of course includes the animal shelter. This effort will identify areas where updates are needed and where opportunities exist to enhance and strengthen the program moving forward. As part of the program's enhancement, staff is reviewing the various functions volunteers could perform in the respective departments. The goal is to create a more structured and efficient system that matches individuals to the department that align with their interests and skills, ensuring a positive and productive experience for both the volunteer and the town. As part of the onboarding process for the volunteers that we currently have across the organization, the town requires the completion of a criminal background check, a copy of current state issued driver's license and or identification card, and if applicable, depending upon the department, verification of education or training relevant to the certain volunteer roles. Each department will designate a point person responsible for providing orientation and training to ensure that the volunteers are well prepared and supported in their assignments. Additionally, each volunteer will have a clearly identified supervisor who is responsible for their direct management of the day-to-day activities and provide guidance in their assigned tasks and be available for consultation and assistance as needed. Staff will continue with the update to the policy and will bring back a finalized version for the council's review and consideration. So.
Finally, foster program opportunities. Foster programs can function as an outreach of the shelter and shelter staff. There are a range of program alternatives. When we return back to the town council, we'll touch base in a little bit more detail on those, but foster programs are an essential component of successful release of animals from the Yucca Valley Animal Shelter.
Shane, if you could back up one slide before we move on to the next slide. Deborah, can you provide an update? One of the actions taken is an identification of our current staffing needs, some of the vacancies that we're having, and what the current town action and status is on our recruitment process for filling those vacancies.
Of course. So currently, right now, we did an advertisement for a full-time animal shelter specialist slash ACO 1 position, and also for 3 part-time kennel positions. For the full-time position, we received a total of 24 applications, so we were very pleased with the results of that. And we received 21 applications for the part-time positions. So yes, so we've got a good pool that we're looking at, and we plan on scheduling interviews probably within the next week. So we're wanting to move forward very quickly to get the assistance up to the shelter that is needed.
Question, the 3 you said, and then the 1 position, so that's 4. Is that an increase, or are we backfilling positions, or a combination of both?
So we're backfilling the full-time position, and the other 3, we're getting temporary assistance for the kennel technicians right now. So
that's additional staffing?
So we actually had 2 temporary positions. One of those individuals left, so we are backfilling that, and then we're adding 2 more.
Okay, so we're adding 2.
Yes.
All right.
These are temporary part-time positions. So these are not regular ongoing part-time positions, and they are not benefited positions. The purpose of increasing the number of part-time here for the next, call it 6 months, is to assist in these transitional efforts. As the council is approving new programs and new efforts, and we're filling positions, we need these additional resources to help get us through this period. So again, these are temporary, these are not ongoing positions.
For the part-time, yes.
For the part-time.
Thank you. As we continue with this town council directed operational review, one of our goals was to develop clear factors and priorities upon which to evaluate the effectiveness of the animal shelter. Council knows, as a taxpayer-funded open admission shelter, the town operation is different from other animal shelter structures. As an example, some of our local nonprofit organizations may have priorities that are established by their board of directors or their other governance structures, and may even include significant input from the donor base. It's not the case here at the Yucca Valley Animal Shelter, so establishing clear performance factors is recommended to provide the town council with the standards that we can then evaluate on an objective basis, whether it's for budgetary performance, regulatory compliance, staff evaluation, or alignment with desired outcomes. Let's move to the next slide. It's important to recognize that there are numerous factors that must be considered in a shelter performance, and that there's relational dimension that determines the overall performance of your shelter. To put this in practical application, it wouldn't be appropriate if we just picked one of these sample performance factors as the only judge of how the animal shelter is performing. While the shelter may have been performing in the past well, for example, with resource allocation or regulatory compliance, we know that that's not sufficient. Your community engagement, animal outcomes, modern best practices were minimized. So what we've then done here in this diagram above is we've identified some of the key performance factors that staff believes should be used in overall shelter performance evaluation. It's a little bit theoretical, so bear with us, but the various actions that have been identified through this operational framework will allow us to see how they relate to each other. So you have animal outcomes, which is all the statistics of animals in, animals out, what their outcome was, days of shelter, et cetera. You also have best practices that are practiced not only at shelters like ours, open admission shelters, but we can also learn from other shelters that are no-kill shelters, others that have different types of guidance. Resource allocation has to be a consideration of the town council. To think that you can only judge on animal outcomes and not consider resource allocation you wouldn't have the ability to balance your other needs that the council is responsible for providing to the community. Additionally, regulatory compliance is important. Community engagement is critically important, which is what you've heard for the last 6 weeks now of the community wanting to see improvement, wanting to have a voice in how the shelter is not only performing, but ultimately how the shelter is evaluated. So we would ask this evening that the town council evaluate these various key performance factors that we've identified. You can debate them, you can talk about them, as well as provide additional input that you see that might be helpful in our consideration of what will ultimately be used in determining the effectiveness of the Yucca Valley Animal Shelter. With that, Shane, turn it back to you.
I want to talk a little bit, Council, about capacity management policy considerations. If you can look online or you can talk to the shelters in our region, everyone is full. Riverside County, they classify themselves as a little bit over 200% at capacity. City of 29 Palms has 4 runs that are available based upon the day that we spoke with them. The Apple Valley shelter is full. City of San Bernardino shelter is full. San Bernardino County shelters are full. So it's a problem that all public agency, publicly funded shelters are facing. So what are some of the actions that they are taking today to try and address those issues? Intake capacity management is related to positive outcomes for the animals. And what are some of those policy considerations that need to be considered? Expanded spay and neuter assistance programs that can be through either Animal Action League and the town, and hopefully in the county in the future, coming out here into the basin and offering those programs. It can be one item the council may be considering in the future is or our modifications to our spay-neuter voucher program. We're currently at $60, the county's at $200. That's something that probably needs to be evaluated. Pet ownership assistance programs. One of the reasons that shelters do not provide for outdoor drop-off areas is they want that person, they want that owner walking in the door with the dog, and they want to have a conversation with them. They want to have that conversation of, is there anything we can do to help you right now to help you keep this dog? You'll find out they're low on money. They don't have the money to buy the dog food. They don't have potentially some vet care that needs to be provided for. And the town can step in those situations and help keep that animal out of the shelter. Why is that important? That's important because there is no space. The Yucca Valley shelter today is full. The shelter is so full, the drop-off pens outside have animals housed in them because every run is full at the shelter. So that's a situation that we run into, and having the type of assistance programs is an important part of animal outcomes. Coordination with real-time data and capacity factors, that's going to come from our implementation of software so that data is readily available to folks, whether it's the town council, the town manager, the staff that are working there, or the public in general. One thing I do want to mention is that the policies, and we'll talk more on these when we get down to the budget page. The policies and the policy evaluations that are before you this evening are preliminary. The final recommendations that come back to you have to take the overall program into consideration, so it's not just the shelter, but it's field operations, the days of the week that we're open and not open, the hours of operation, all of those different factors. So what you're seeing tonight are preliminary recommendations, and you're probably going to see some modification to those over time. And the remote is no longer... I'm sorry, what?
The far right side, it says 9 dogs per 1,000 residents.
So you can see when you look at, going back up to the top of the slide, Rancho Cucamonga in 2023 had a total intake of 1,361 dogs. For a population, that's a city of 147,405, and you can see the ratio of dogs per 1,000 residents. And that doesn't even include the population of surrounding cities. And then you can look at the 1,009 dogs in Yucca Valley and our population of about 22,000 for the town of Yucca Valley, and then throwing in 8,000 of county residents in the surrounding area, and you can see the difference in those numbers. Go to the next slide, please. The remote's not working. Talk about owner turn-in. One of the conversations in the staff report to the town council is that some jurisdictions are no longer accepting owner turn-ins. So state law says we're mandated to take in strays, but that does not apply to owner turn-ins. So how do other jurisdictions deal with this today? Hesperia, yes, for residents only. City of Moreno Valley, no. Rancho Cucamonga, yes. City of Redlands is on a case-by-case basis only. City of San Bernardino, only if they are sick or injured. 29 Palms, yes. Riverside County, again, sick, injured, or aggressive. San Bernardino County, sick or injured. Town of Apple Valley, sick or injured. Town of Yucca Valley, yes. So you see a little bit of a mix in terms of owner relinquishment and how public shelters are dealing with those today in terms of managing that intake process. Next slide, please. After hours drop-off. City of Hesperia has none. City of Moreno Valley has none. Rancho Cucamonga, none. Redlands, none. San Bernardino, none. City of 29 Palms, yes. They are in the process of phasing out their after-hour kennels. Riverside County, no. San Bernardino County, no. Apple Valley, no. Town of Yucca Valley, yes. So when the City of 29 Palms completes their phasing out process, Yucca Valley will be the only jurisdiction in the survey that has those after-hour drop-off points. The question, and we don't know the answer because not everybody leaves information when they bring the dogs, or the animals, are we receiving animals from Desert Hot Springs? Are we receiving animals from the Barstow area? Are we receiving animals further away? Without doubt we are. Can we document that? No. But are people aware that those drop-off pens exist, and are people not wanting just to turn their animals loose to fend for themselves so they know that these drop-off pens exist? Absolutely they do. So again, this is council policy for consideration as this process continues to move forward. Next slide, please. Ongoing and additional actions. We talked a little bit about staffing evaluation. One of the recommended actions this evening is for the authorization for a new position, which is solely for animal shelter services. As the council will recall, we have hybrid positions that are both field officer and shelter employees. And when there are field calls for the field staff, they leave the shelter. And so it's a real difficult balance to maintain. So the recommended action this evening is the authorization of that new position. Community engagement. One of the recommended actions for the council's consideration is to form a standing committee. A standing committee that would be subject to the Brown Act, holding public meetings. That council committee can continue the evaluation of programmatic changes as this process continues to move forward. Volunteer programs are also another means of community engagement as those volunteers step forward and help build relationships between shelter operations as well as with the rest of the community. Expanded shelter adoption opportunities, we talked about that previously through the use of media here in the basin as well as social media. We also talked about foster programs and working on that. I've already touched base on the shelter capacity management policy discussions of the after-hours drop-off kennels, owner surrender, and then a very common approach public shelters are taking today with cats is trap, neuter, return. Returning those cats back out to the areas where they were picked up as long as they are healthy, and reducing the cat population in the shelter. We touched base minimally on community education and resources for responsible pet ownership, and that's something that the shelter staff can continue to expand on and to assist individuals who are in need of either resources or information on how to be more able to be more caring for the pets that they do have. Next slide, please. These are potential 25-26 fiscal year budget amendments that staff has identified. These would be presented to the council in June of this year with any other changes for the 25-26 year for all of the other operating departments. You'll see the full-time animal shelter specialist and the salary and benefits estimated at $70,000, the 4 emergency hire part-times, 1 existing plus the 3 new, as Deborah indicated, estimated at $55,000. Spay-neuter clinics over the course of the year, somewhere between $12,000 and $16,000 to start out in the first year. Marketing, again, encouraging adoption, trying to reach out as best as we can, estimated between $15,000 and $20,000. Licensing as well as shelter software. It's important to remember that we have both field services as well as shelter services. And so any software that we do bring on board is going to need to be compatible between both. There are very affordable options out there to very expensive options. And for example, the town's partner, County of San Bernardino, uses the Chameleon program, which is on the expensive end of $40,000 to $45,000 a year for our operation. So staff has not had the opportunity to walk through that process yet. That will be occurring over the next 6 to 8 months. And then you see volunteer operational supplies and a few other things thrown in. So an estimated $175,000 to $228,000 at this initial point on these recommendations. Again, these are preliminary, subject to change, and subject to change not just from staff input, but as council has policy discussion on all of these different factors that can play a role in how these numbers ultimately turn out. One final comment, these numbers are based upon your current days of operation and hours of operation. So 5 days a week, open to the public from 12 to 5. You have staff working at the shelter from 7:30 till after 5, but it's open to the public Tuesdays through Saturday, 12 to 5. You'll see a mix of operational days and hours from different shelters out there. There are several like us that are 5 days a week. 29 Palms matches us very, very closely. They're the same during the work days, but on Saturday they're closed a few hours less than we are. They're open less hours than we are. Riverside County is a 6-day-a-week operation. San Bernardino County's DeVore facility is a 7-day-a-week operation. Hesperia is 5 days a week. They're open 2 hours more per day than Yucca Valley is. Redlands is a 5-day-a-week operation. During the weekdays, they are open 2 hours more than Yucca Valley to the public, and they are open 1 hour more on Saturdays to the public. City of San Bernardino, and the City of San Bernardino has been making a number of changes to their animal shelter operations over the last several years. They are open 7 days a week. Apple Valley actually they are open 5 days a week, but they are open from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. And then finally, Moreno Valley is 5 days a week, and they are open a little bit earlier in the day than Yucca Valley, and they go till 6 o'clock versus 5 o'clock. So you see it's quite a mix. There are 5-day-a-week operations, there are 6-day-a-week operations, and there are 7-day-a-week operations, and there's a little bit of variation in the hours. So again, just wanted to stress the point that the budget numbers and the staffing that you see before you this evening are based upon current operational hours and days. If the council desires to make changes to those, that will of course change these numbers.
Shane, this is the suggestion or this possibility that's 100% funded by the town of Yucca Valley. We're not getting any additional funding or request to the San Bernardino County for the
We are going to be following council's discussion, whether it's we just start this after this evening's meeting or after your meeting in June with the final report. We'll be having the conversation with the county on the contract and contract amendments and their financial participation.
Yeah, I would hope that they would see that, you know, obviously they're running into their own issues with their own shelters countywide. But as far as the impact, we don't have the funding that some of these other cities that you're comparing us with and the hours of operation they can afford. We know that the state of California right now, their budget doesn't look really good, and there's some real concerns about what tariffs might have on future growth and monies and so forth. So anything they could do to help with us or partner with us would be very important, because I'm worried about future budgets and the sales tax numbers that aren't getting real big. And of course, as we see gasoline prices coming down, we're going to see that a big hit, because we get a lot of sales tax through gasoline tax. So we've got to be very cautious. I'm not opposed to spending more money. I think it's needed because we have a real need, but I would like county to really try to help us.
Next slide, please. Next steps in the process, as the town manager indicated at the start of this item this evening, is for the report submission at your meeting of June 3rd. The project website is going to be continue to be updated with information, presentations, as well as input. And as we just previously indicated, we do have contract coordination with the county on our to-do list, and that will be moving forward. Next slide, please. Staff has walked through these recommendations at the start of the meeting. Just to repeat, though, receive and file the Animal Shelter Operational Review Update Number 2. Authorize the new position of Animal Shelter Specialist. Consider the establishment of a standing committee of 2 council members and solicit public participation and input in the committee meetings. Direct staff to initiate programmatic operations for volunteers and animal foster efforts upon completion of staffing priorities. Review the identified performance factors and provide input and direction as desired. And finally, direct staff to complete peer review of the draft operational review. Next slide, please. That concludes staff's presentation. We would be happy to answer questions at this time. Following any questions of staff, the mayor will open it up for public comment.
All right, so let's start with the council before we do public comment to see if you have questions of staff. This isn't a conversation between us. It's just if we want clarity on something with the presentation before the public speaks. So does anybody have any questions of the staff?
I have a quick question on the, you said the outdoor drop-off kennels right now, if they're not available, it's because they're full by dogs that are presently there. We're over capacity.
Yes, sir, that's correct.
Okay. And during this process, have we received any type of public request for information, and have we been forthright in providing that?
Yes, we've received, I think we identified in your staff report, we were around 20, 22 public records requests primarily related to animal shelter operations in various capacities. We have an obligation to respond to those, and we're in that process.
Can you give us an example of what would be a typical freedom of information request and how long it takes to handle those kind of things?
Each one is different, council member. So, we can bring up an example. I think this one, I have one here from, looks like May 5th. Each one is different, and the response and time commitment is
Are
different.
they handled by the
So this one, for
animal
example, is consists of 8 requests within the one request.
how many?
8. This is
8
eight part of the single request. So a list of all partner animal groups as of 5/5. A copy of all emails sent to partnered animal rescue groups between the dates of March 1st and May 5th. So town manager or deputy town manager indicated we had about 600 contacts and then some follow-up with about 300. So that would be 600 emails that we will provide as part of this public record request, and then any follow-ups, so the 300 will come back as well as part of that. That's a requirement of state law, so we will be complying with that. List of all shelter and management employees and their salaries working between the dates of January 1 and May 5th. List of all shelter volunteers that were or are working between the dates of January 1 and May 5th. List of all animal adoptions, including their breeds and ID numbers, the amounts charged for each adoption between the dates of January 1 and May 5th. The animal shelter total animal capacity for dogs and cats in a separate list. The number of cages, pens for dogs and cats is a separate list. And lastly, on this one, detailed property and building schematics for all areas of the animal shelter. So that's an example of one public record request. Staff across the organization would be pulled in for pulling the information and preparing that. We have an obligation to respond to the responder within 10 days. Quite frankly, on a request like this, it will take longer than 10 days to pull that information, package it together, and respond to the requester. But that's a typical process for public records requests. We're about at 22 to 23 separate public records requests. Many of them are multi-part. But it is what it is, and we'll respond accordingly to state law.
Okay.
Anyone over here have a question?
I just one. I was out of town and didn't get to check in on the recent $10 adoption event. Can somebody tell me how that went? I heard good things from the public on it, but that's all.
And the wolf walk.
It was very successful. I believe I heard a report of around 13 animals adopted.
Okay, great, thank you.
That's good.
And I have one question. As far as the hours, financially, is there a difference, like if you open the shelter on Sunday and then close on, say, a weekday? I mean, is there like overtime pay or weekend pay? Is there a financial change with that?
No, you you structure your staffing plan according to employees' hours, and that's what creates regular pay versus overtime pay. So days of the week does not matter. What you run into in small organizations and geographically located communities like Yucca Valley is you have a higher turnover rate when you have weekend work requirements. We run into that both. We have 7-day-a-week operations in parks, and that's where one of the areas we run into in employee turnover is those that have families. They have families that work Monday through Friday. They're off on weekends, and they don't get to spend time with their families. So that's the only consideration. But no, overtime, we structure hours, and it's not affected by the days of the week.
All right, thank you. Okay, I guess that's it for our questions to you right now. We'll be back with that later. So now let's open it to the public. So is there anybody in the public that would like to speak on this item? And I'm sure there are probably people online, and Leslie probably has a bunch of cards. So let's get started.
Thank you, Mayor. Our first speaker this evening on this item is Greg Herring, followed by Cheryl Contopoulos.
Good evening, Council. I'm Greg Herring, Pioneer Town resident, 35-year resident of the Morongo Basin. I had prepared some comments, but I'm going to deviate from that a bit after hearing tonight's presentation. And I want to applaud those involved. It's pretty thorough. I was amazed at what I heard tonight in a good way, and that's good. I was glad to hear it. One of the things that I didn't hear as part of the review process is the animal shelter staffed with the right people in the right positions. And I go back to what I said in my first comments weeks ago, that many of us here in the community feel that that the person managing this shelter is not going to be the right person to continue to sustain the changes, these awesome, wonderful changes that I see going on right now. Your shelter manager has already been in the community talking to prominent community folks, telling them this will all blow over soon and things will get back to normal. But these folks don't want to come forward because of fear of retaliation. So I'm here saying it. This is what your shelter manager is out there saying. So I have to ask again, is he the right person to sustain these changes on a permanent, enduring basis here? And I can't see that as being the case. I think you need to look at, add to your list, take a look at the staff. Is the staff the right ones to continue this change process and make sure that we continue this path that I see we're on, which is a great one? The only other comment that I have tonight is about the volunteer program presentation made over here. Seems to be rather involved that you're going to do background investigations and stuff like that. I think you're going to not get as many volunteers as you normally would. Other cities sign a hold harmless, 2 minutes, you're a volunteer, done. Grab a dog, go take them for a walk. So maybe in this case, because you said different departments have different requirements for volunteer programs, maybe the animal shelter could have a different process for this. We're talking walking dogs and a few other tasks involved. Do we need a background investigation? Thank you.
Thank you.
Cheryl, and then we'll have Christine Bostrom.
Good evening. 10 months since my first public comment about the shelter. I brought my voice then, yet the true effective voice is the community. I thank them for their voices, involvement, and passion, particularly Susan Herring, who began emailing about issues 6 months ago, who has dedicated herself to the Basin area animals and residents, and thank you, Greg, also. Thank you for the grant recognizing Crystal Mackey's tremendous efforts. Thank you, James, for spearheading the sponsored adoptions, and it was 6 dogs, 4 cats, and 5 pigs, and the other people who also participated in that. Thank you to everyone who has shown up for our community in person and online. We have wonderful rescue groups and individuals I haven't mentioned, many in this room tonight, and their voices speak from experience. I spoke about the need for an advisory group and appreciate that it's a recommendation, and I agree with Greg. Great report, thorough and detailed. Community outreach involves schools and groups. That to me means going out into the community with events, presenting to the schools. And I know that's the shelter manager responsibility, but if you take somebody like Ryan, who is passionate, involved, closer to kids' levels, somebody like that going into the schools. And people need to be educated because we do have a lot of poor community members, and that's why we have loose dogs. After watching the last 7 years of basically the same shelter report presentation, I was struck by many things. One, the contrast of the demeanor with the other shelter managers showed compassion, commitment, and dedication to their shelter and support solutions for including our shelter. Please add sedation prior to euthanasia in writing in the recommendations. I did not notice that, although it was reported April 1st. I think it needs to be recorded. And I hope that thank you for foster and volunteer program consideration, because it will benefit, it's a two-way street, and it works for everyone. I just hope it's not a year from now. Please do not consider closing the outside pens. To me, it's a short-sighted reaction that negatively impacts animals dropped off by Good Samaritans. The ACOs would then have to be doing that work if it wasn't for your community members dropping off. Maybe owners should have to make appointments to drop off dogs, and that would solve that. I'm going to skip ahead. Yes, time for a mission statement, and I think that was an excellent comment last meeting. I thank the council for the steps and actions taken, and I continue to look forward to each new change and success. Proverbs 12:10. A righteous person cares for the life of animals, but even the most compassionate acts of the wicked are cruel. Thank you.
Thank you.
Christine Bostrom, and then James Porter.
Hi, I'm Christine. I've been here for a long time. Let me start by saying you all seem like nice guys. I've seen you in town supporting worthy causes. I was a patient of yours, Dr. Lombardo, since I was a young adult. I think you are a good guy. I've seen some of you at my daughter's Miracle League games helping out. You seem like caring, decent men. I'm guessing you have families and pets, so I don't understand why you are choosing to keep Doug Smith as the animal manager. I've heard all of you thanking him for doing such a great job. Doug Smith has not and cannot do a great job. He is not even doing an okay job. He has been doing a horrible, immoral, inhumane job for our animals. And Mr. Stukel has known it and has allowed it. You all know it now and are allowing it. Doug Smith is a cancer in our animal shelter that you all are choosing to allow to stay. You say you are doing things to change our shelter for the better. I see you doing positive things. I have heard positive things. But that is just putting a Band-Aid on the cancer. Until you remove the cancer, animals will suffer. And until you remove the cancer in our shelter, we as animal lovers will have to keep fighting for them. You all have heard firsthand accounts of the abuse, not rumors as you, the mayor, has stated. Facts. You have repeatedly been shown the numbers and statistics that show he is doing a horrible job. I can only believe, after coming to all these meetings for months, that you either don't believe the information you've been given, or you just don't care enough or think this is important enough to remove Doug Smith from his position. Well, know this. We all care and believe it is very important, so maybe you should care about that. This isn't just going to die down, and we aren't just going to go away. If you don't think you're getting enough phone calls or emails regarding this issue, that doesn't mean the people in this town don't care. Some are just now learning about the abuse. This town is full of animal-loving people. And Mr. Stukel running the 90-day review, there's no honest transparency there. I don't even know if you are capable of that, but you are capable of fixing this mess. We keep coming to you all for help, and you keep letting us down. We keep asking you as our town leaders to fix this problem, but you are all just becoming a part of the problem. You are choosing to be a part of the problem when you should be choosing to be a part of the solution. What do we do when you, our town leaders, refuse to remove the cancer in our shelter and put in animal-loving leaders to rebuild a healthy, functioning shelter? Does anybody want to answer that? Thank you.
Thank you.
James Porter, and then Melissa Spur, you're on deck.
Hi, everybody. James Porter, 40-year resident of Yucca Valley. I'm going to echo what Greg said earlier. First, the operational review is fantastic. I think there's some really great recommendations in there. I obviously believe that there are some historical problems in the shelter that are going to have to be addressed. But that stuff looks really good moving forward. And I do also appreciate, I know a lot of people see this stuff on social media. The town has been super, super engaged with me and things that I have been trying to do to help, and I appreciate you guys for that. I want to talk in a general conversation tonight. So first, for Councilmember Lombardo, I see you kind of scoff at the PRAs, at least that's what your face said, maybe I'm wrong. Remember, we were asked to submit PRAs by our town staff. We asked the council for transparency, we asked for data, we asked for reports, and we were told no, or it was not done, and we were told we could get that through PRA. So we have been getting that through PRA. Unfortunately, I mean, the PRAs are probably going to keep coming. I know some of them are complex because I've submitted some complex ones. It is the nature of the system. None of us want to do that. I don't want to do it. I want the council to put this on the agenda and give us the data that people are looking for, and then we can stop asking Leslie, who I love and I think is fantastic, to pull data that could be given right here at this meeting. So let's talk about data. So right now we're living in two worlds. We have to come together. We have the council and the city who have put up a lot of barriers and are being very defensive of the shelter, at least publicly, historically. The mayor has been very outspoken on social media, and so have some shelter employees. So let me tell you a little bit of story versus reality. And I'm going to warn you, I'm probably going to go over, but if you don't want to let me go over, I'll come back during my 3-minute public comment and finish this. So, the story. Negativity and lack of knowledge brings visitors down and in turn hurts the animals. That's a quote from Jen Smith, who works at the shelter. To discourage people from adopting from a local shelter, that's evil. It's the dogs that are suffering. That's Jeff Drost on social media. Here's the reality. In 2024, the Yucca Valley Shelter adopted, rescued, or transferred 22% of dogs. They euthanized 53.76% of dogs. Pursuant to the Public Records Act, I collected data from February 19th to April 15th, which is after all of the public attention about this started happening. Adoptions went up, adoptions, rescues, and transfers went up by 5%. Euthanasia went down by 24%. Is it because of us? I don't know. But I can tell you that these things about hurting the animals are false. Okay, 15 seconds. You gonna let me go over? Or you want me to come back with my 3 minutes of public?
I think you should come back. I think that'd be better.
I'll see you when public comments come up.
All right, thank you.
Melissa Spur, and then Susan Walls.
Hi, I'm Melissa Spur, 21-year resident of Joshua Tree. I've come to this issue later than many, but I've been catching up through news reports and watching past town hall meetings. It's been heartbreaking. I've cried hearing the stories of animals euthanized without sedation and friendly dogs labeled unadoptable and killed. It's traumatic to witness, even secondhand. I'm encouraged by the measures you're proposing to improve shelter operations and increase adoptions, and I really appreciate recent efforts to promote adoptions on social media. But I'm deeply troubled by the proposal to remove the after-hours drop-off kennels and refuse owner surrenders, two sources that make up 61% of the shelter's animal intake. If these intake channels are cut, up to 600 dogs could be left roaming our streets, with nowhere to go. This is not just a policy problem, it's a public safety risk and a moral crisis. We'll see more dogs hit by cars, starving, scared, and suffering in the desert. Frankly, this approach feels like a solution, less like a solution and more like retaliation. Like, you want a no-kill shelter? Fine, then we'll just stop taking in animals. That's not leadership. It's an abandonment of duty to both the community and the animals we're meant to protect. I know you've had offers from animal organizations and other shelters to help guide the shelter to better outcomes, but this blunt approach to slashing shelter intake leads me to believe that you haven't taken advantage of those offers. For inspiration, here are some fun facts that demonstrate how other governments, lost my place. Fun facts that demonstrate how other governments approach animal welfare. In 2005, the town of Monza, Italy banned putting goldfish in spherical fish bowls because they distort the fish's view of the world, and that was deemed cruel. In Sweden, doggy daycares are required to have windows at dog height so dogs can look outside and daydream. In Switzerland, it's illegal to own just one guinea pig because they're social animals and need companionship. These policies reflect something powerful: empathy, a recognition that animals have inner lives and emotional needs. I hope the town council and shelter staff will embrace that same kind of compassion when making decisions about animals. Behind every shelter intake stat and budget figure is a living, breathing, feeling being. The animal's safety and dignity must come first. Please, please, please continue to do right by them. Thank you.
Thank you.
Susan Walls, and then Deborah Savitt.
I'm Linda Root. Some of you know me, and you know I can't do anything in 3 minutes. But I can start because I came up without notes. My notes are wonderful. So I want to first of all tell you that if you form that two-councilman committee, I want to be in the audience and I want to participate because I don't have a lot of time to waste, okay? Now, I want to see my two friends tonight, because I was sitting there and I realized that Bernice, in what I call the hot pink, was the person who went with me to the Humane Society, to the no-kill shelter, the day I brought a dog who came there named Lily and left being called Hildegard Van Wagel. And she would have been euthanized had she come here, because she had been one of those unadoptables. But what was different was they had an intake officer who bothered to make a phone call. And that phone call put her back on the list. They said, she's temperamental and she's has issues, but she is adoptable. And Mimi Mintz said, well, somebody that could raise a 166-pound female Malamute like I did could certainly handle one little 80-pound boxer who had been a care animal and had attacked a cat that came on the bed of her patient. So anyway, and then there's Eleanor, my friend Eleanor. The last time it was 21 years since I had been to the Yucca Valley Animal Shelter. And I went out there like Saturday with a check. And I didn't want to go out there alone because it's fun to, lunch on the way back and all that. Eleanor came with me, and she left with a kitten, or cat. I knew she would leave with the cat, or I wouldn't have invited her along. But, okay. Yes, those adoption days, those events were successful. They were successful because of you, and because of you. Yes. So, if we work together, you will make a dream come true, and you'll make Yucca Valley the kind of town who can be very, very proud of the heritage that it says it has. We'll protect our Joshua trees, and we'll protect our dogs and cats.
Awesome. Thank you.
So Deborah Savitt, it's your turn, and then we'll have Susan Herring.
Good evening, gentlemen. How are you? Hanging in there? I'm here because I love cats. I like dogs a lot, but I've been rescuing cats for quite a while now. We usually don't take them to the shelters because we're worried that they would get euthanized. So there's us cat ladies out there rescuing them, raising money, and trying to make sure they get fixed and vaccinated and finding them homes. So I'm presently going to take in 2 more cats. And I found, there's a woman who lives way out in the desert. She has found there were 5 dogs that someone dumped in the desert, so we've been taking care of them, got them all fixed and vaccinated. We're just trying to find fosters, if anybody can foster. Okay, so I'm here to put that out there too. So we're kind of out there, so I really like what you're doing. I really appreciate that. I appreciate your report. I see you're really making an effort. I think if you can incorporate the community, obviously they have a lot of great ideas. We want to help. So I'd like to help in some way, you know, that if I could help take in some cats and be a foster. I really hope that you utilize the foster system. I've already been a foster for the Thousand Palm Shelter, and I used to foster kittens and cats and on a regular basis. What was nice about that was they were able, through best friends, to provide the medicines and the treatment. So I don't know if that's affordable, but that's what they could do. And that was really, really helpful. And then I would take them back, I would socialize them, and then they were, you know, good to go to a home. And they found homes for all the cats and kittens. So thank you for what you're doing, and we love the animals here, and we just want to see them all be saved. Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Susan, and then we'll have Tara Edwards.
This is, oh yeah, there you go.
Hi, Susan Herring. Thank you, first of all, very, very much. We really appreciate all the efforts that you've done, and it is evident in the numbers that are coming across, so thank you. I do want to mention what happened over the weekend about the outside drop kennels, and it also goes along with 2 items that you mentioned as possibilities. One of them is owner surrenders and stopping that for dogs and cats. I can't imagine in the wildest dreams why you would think that would be a good idea. Where in the world do you think these dogs are going to go, other than in your backyard and my backyard? That is not an option, and you guys know that. The second thing is the drop kennels. Rick Boyd and I had a conversation this afternoon. I think of Rick as the poster child of the no-kill direction. I love that guy. It's black and white difference between Yucca Valley and 29 Palms. Rick is not going towards the direction of eliminating those drop kennels. Even though his architect is telling him on his new kennels that they should not have them, that that's the direction of the entire United States of eliminating the drop kennels, and there's lots of reasons for eliminating them. But for our communities, and Rick understands this, and I hope Yucca Valley does too, it is not an option. Rick is going to have and has at least 2 drop kennels open each night. And if they're not, it's because he has a parvo infection that he's trying to combat. But normally he has 2 unlocked kennels. We understand that there are issues with owner surrenders going into those dropped kennels. It is not the best option. But you cannot have these dogs not having a place to go. In the past 2 days, in 48 hours, I received 3 people calling me with dogs that they've found that they didn't know what to do. And that's the reason why this Facebook post. What are we supposed to do with this dog? And the next person that's going to talk to you is exactly going to tell you that. What are our options if you close that? Think about it. Where are they going to go? Thank you.
Thank you.
Tara Edwards.
Good evening. My name is Tora Edwards. I am a 14-year resident of Yucca Valley, and I run a local nonprofit animal rescue. Yes, with these outdoor pens being closed that people can drop off animals, yes, dogs like this. Okay, found yesterday. I found them driving by. The mom ran across my dirt road where I live. I stopped the car, ran after her, and there were these 3 puppies scattering in all directions. It was hard to catch them. They ran for everything they had. These 6-week-old puppies would not have lasted the night. They were dumped. Each ear had 100 ticks in it, despite the ones all over the body. Okay, 3 little puppies and the mom. The mom, we couldn't catch. I couldn't catch. I was alone. I called Susan. She was lives, 35 miles away out Rimrock. She came. She said, I can't do it. She came. We trapped that mom dog 4 hours later. Okay. I don't get paid for my work. I've done it for 14 years in this community. Do you know how much work it is even for cute little dogs like this to get adopted? Okay? And yes, they do have to be vetted, the owners. Yeah, it takes a lot of work, a lot of interview, fence check, house check, to make sure these guys, that's my job, right? Make sure they go on to happy homes. Yeah, these guys are up for adoption. Yes. And these dogs, Susan said they'll be in our backyards, right, front yards, and in our streets. How do you go by a lot of dead dogs when your kids are in the car and say, okay, that dog, yeah, it's dead. That's because if you've been in Thermal, where I've done lots of volunteering for Animal Action League, have you seen the amount of dogs when there's no animal control? Dead in the streets and all the kids having to see this. And when those dogs get hit by a car and they kill people for accidents, who gets sued? Okay, you want to save some money. Think about this, though. This is real. These things happen. Okay, maybe in third world countries, dogs can do well avoiding streets. Not in this country. They do run in the streets. They will get killed. Something has to be done. We need to think outside of the box. These times are going to get tougher, not easier. To not allow owner turn-in, strays to be turned in is not an option. We have to do better. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else? No? Anyone online?
Yeah, we have 2 people requesting online comments, starting with Shirley Pearl, followed by Diana Persinger. Shirley Pearl, I have requested you to unmute. You have 3 minutes.
Unmute. Hello? Can you hear me?
Yes, we hear you. We hear you. Are you there? Hello?
Okay. I'm here.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. I don't
Okay.
know why you can't hear me.
We hear you now. This is the mayor. Go right ahead. You can start.
Thank you. A lot of what I had planned to say has already been said, but one of the things that kept coming up in my mind is unfortunately, I couldn't be in person at this meeting tonight. I would have been here if I could have, so being online is just as much. But I missed several of the meetings about this, and I kept saying, who is this man? Is his name Doug Smith, who's running the shelter? Where is he? Who is he? He feels like a ghost to me. We talk about him, we talk about the unconscionable things he's done, but why hasn't he come up and defended himself or talked or whatever it is? He's a phantom. Why have you not called him up to come and speak to us, the community, and give him a chance? I feel that it's our money. We're paying for him through our taxes. That's one of the things that has been on my mind quite a bit. Like unless I missed him in one of the meetings I was not at, where is he? The other thing is I volunteered for quite a few years through LA shelters for no pay. What they did was, one, when you volunteer, we had to do several hours of a training. We didn't just go in and give them our ID and look to see if we didn't have a record. They had some very simple basic training, but how to teach the dogs what to do in certain situations, and we were given a certificate. That was number one. Number two was we would take the dogs, someone mentioned this earlier, to outreach. Local parks, we would do adoptions in local parks. We took dogs to schools. Of course, the dogs were vetted, and we would take them to the local schools, elementary, middle school, and high school. And there'd be special events where the kids would know more about the shelters, teach them about the shelters, the availability of dogs, and also get kids involved. Some of the high school kids would probably love to come maybe during the summer or during after school, give them the opportunity to be around animals. One last thing I'd like to say, because so much of what I wanted to say was said already, was I see that Yucca Valley is promoting itself as this wonderful little town, and it is. I've been here 14 years. And I see the promotion trying to get people to come in and trying to get people to see how wonderful it is and all the little services we have and how you're fixing up downtown, Old Town. But one of the things I know with myself and my friends is we're all dog and cat friendly. And that's one of the things you've not promoted. And if you promoted that, I think you would have more people open to coming and visiting or seeing or whatever. That's just my opinion of that. But to end it, I agree with what everybody has said. I do thank you for listening to us, but we're going to come back in June. None of us are done with you. We're going to keep on this until we actually see that you are really moving forward with this. Okay, because we're not going to be silent. We're calling you. All of you are accountable right now. Every single one of you.
Thank you. Your time is up, but thank you very much.
Thank you.
Diana Persinger, I request you to unmute. You have 3 minutes.
Hello. Okay, thank you. Just going to set my own timer because I don't know how, last time I wasn't able to tell. I really don't do well public speaking. So I also, I'm having anxiety, I'll be honest. So I'm going to be a little all over the place. The notes that I made were prior to the meeting. And so thank you for all of the progress that I see, mentioned and plans going forward. I saw a lot of great things, just like everybody else. I just wanted to say thank you for that as well, because, we weren't so sure coming into this today. So I'm just going to go ahead and read from this. I apologize. Things have been repeated. I just have too much anxiety to weed it out like everybody else. So I'm just going to read off of here. So I just also want to thank you, the community members who showed up, by the way, and those who refused to be silenced and let things get swept under the rug, because I honestly wouldn't know about any of these challenges that our local shelter is facing if it wasn't for you, the community members, many of you there in person right now. So exposure creates change, complacency does not, and that's obvious. So thank you to the town council members and all involved who genuinely care about the animals and who are working towards these positive solutions and are willing to listen and not be offended. I've been a community member for over 20 years. I volunteered at other shelters in California throughout my life. I've rescued dogs, cats, foster failed multiple times, currently 3 kittens. I've adopted from your shelter, our shelter, and from rescues. I'm mostly just a networker, but I say just not because I'm not important, but because the boots on the ground are the true heroes. The ones pushing for change all these years are priceless. Networkers can be the backbone of a lot of rescues and even shelters to help get the animals out of unsafe situations and safely into homes. We have the power at our fingertips. So I recommend that you guys make it more of a focus, a little bit more of a priority, because I know that you guys are working social media already. That's been mentioned. But, we have the power to reach people across the country. We have the power to help you raise funds, find fosters, get, deadline dogs seen. Those things need to be posted more. The website posting is great, but
You have 30 seconds, just letting you know.
Okay, I might need to go back behind at the end as well, because my anxiety is just too much to throw this all in at once. But normally I was helping through Southern California and Texas. I was wondering where our shelter was this whole time. So I'm glad to see, there's my time. So I'm glad to be able to have the opportunity to speak now, and I will just go at the end of the line at the end to finish what I wanted to say. Thank you.
Perfect, thank you. Okay, is there anyone else online? Is there anyone else in the public that would like to speak on this that has not spoke yet?
Mayor, I miss Susan Walls, if you'd like to start, and then after that, we'll have Jania Tatel.
I guess Linda got a little anxious.
Your microphone.
Bring the mic closer.
Yeah.
There you go.
I guess Linda got a little bit anxious, and she jumped in there when it was my turn. So, my name's Susan. I'm from Joshua Tree, so I'm in the county area. I appreciate all the wonderful things that have been happening lately with the shelter. Lots of good adoptions. And I do want to say that it's very nice to see, when I go to the shelter, I see Ryan or Nate, and they're both really nice young guys that seem to care for the animals. They are really good. So they need help, though. They're running this way and that way and trying to do 8 jobs just by themselves. I mean, for you getting one person, 4 temporary shelter people, you need to really increase that because, if somebody gets sick, if someone wants to go on vacation, to think that they'd want to do that, you need to have backups. You need to have people there. You need to have enough coverage so that the animals are taken care of. I mean, that's the compassion and care of our animal companions. That was the whole mission statement. We want to have the good things going for them, not just putting them in and murdering them and saying, well, we don't have room for them. I was there on Saturday, and there was at least 5 kennels that were open, that were empty. So I don't know what happened suddenly that they're all to capacity. But I wanted to also say, I think it's a very good thing for you considering the volunteer program, but we can't wait. We need to get stuff done. This is like an emergency. So if you had an emergency, you're not going to wait 3 months to get it done. You're going to get things going a little bit faster. We need to get that volunteer program going now, not wait until you're full of shelter workers and then have somebody do that. Why can't the animal control manager manage volunteers? Why do you have to wait until the other people get hired before you can even think of that? She was saying we have to go over it and, this and that. It's like, it's not rocket science. There's plenty of other shelters that will be able to give you guidance on how to do it. I'm running out of time. I guess I'll have to come back, just like Mr. James Porter. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Jenny?
All right, who's next?
Hi, I'm Janice Tatel. I live in Yucca Valley, and thank you for addressing this. But we've all heard about all the abuses that have gone on under the leadership of Doug Smith. And we've heard recommendations, some good, some not so good. But the fact is, as long as Doug Smith is there, and wasn't gone yesterday, there's no indication that you're acting in good faith, and this is not going to be a bunch of words, recommendations, and no action. Thank you.
Thank you. Like we have someone else?
Hi.
Hi. Go right ahead.
Is this?
It's on.
Hi. My name's Christy Carter. I live in Yucca Valley. I know you've heard this before, but I volunteer at the No Kill Shelter, and I walk dogs. And it's simple. It's not a big deal, You show up, you sign in, you put the time. The first time you go, you have to fill a waiver, but it takes 2 seconds. And it's separate than any other volunteer stuff. It doesn't have to be a big deal. It's just walking dogs. So if we could just do something simple like that, that would be the greatest thing for the dogs, you know, if they could just get walks. So it doesn't have to be difficult, is all I'm saying. And yeah, fire Doug Smith. Thanks.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that has not spoken? All right, so let's close public comment, and let's bring it back to the council.
Mayor and council, if I may just make a couple comments.
Yes.
Before you go into your deliberations. First, I want to acknowledge some town employees who have helped make the improvements that you've heard comments about this evening possible. First is Brooke Durda. Brooke has been the employee from Engineering Public Works who has been doing 90% of the social media, Facebook, all of those things. It's pretty cool when an employee says, hey, can I go to the shelter on my off Friday and work at the shelter on my off Friday to get these things done? And that's what Brooke has done in this process. Also, other non-shelter employees I want to acknowledge this evening, Janet Yakmowitz, Evan Willoughby, and Jared Jerome. They have all played a role in photographing the dogs, getting that information to Brooke, as well as doing the outreach to the rescue groups. So I just can't emphasize enough, they're the ones that have, due to the staffing structure that we currently have at the shelter, these employees have really stepped up and helped out in that process. On the volunteer issue, I'm not a volunteer expert, but I have spent a little bit of time going through other shelter web pages across Southern California, and I'm sure Deborah's going to be working on this, but I was a little bit surprised. It is very, very, very common and very standard, and this for council as well as the public this evening, and I was surprised. Background check required, background check required, background check required. It's the same as an employee being reviewed, and then I don't know if Deborah mentioned or not in terms of the volunteers, but volunteers are covered under the town's workman's compensation program. That means the Yucca Valley taxpayers are on the hook for any injuries that occur to those volunteers, and that's a big issue. No, not copying out. I'm just trying to communicate the importance of supervision and structure in any volunteer program. And that's just how it is. So anyway, for council's information.
All
That
right.
concludes staff's comments.
Thank you. So who would like to go first? Or
I would
okay,
like to.
Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you. Well, first of all, thank you everyone for being here tonight. And I think part of the concern people had was seeing the review process and then feeling like nothing was going to get accomplished until the very end. I was very glad to see staff is already moving forward with policy changes, and it is an ongoing improvement as we're going through the process. So I appreciate everything that was there. I even requested that, we have a checkoff showing the things that we have done and the things that we're still working on. The couple of the issues is obviously Yucca Valley is quite unique from other areas I've lived, because I remember moving up here, all of a sudden I'm like, what is going on? It's like everybody seemed to have 2 or 3 dogs in their backyard, and I'm like, I'm from Orange County, and maybe it's a little more privacy and you don't see as many, but it just seems like an overabundance of people having dogs. And then, we're going through this process, and obviously we're trying to find homes for these pets, trying to get their owners, if they lost their pets, reunited. So it's a big undertaking. And then I just was looking on social media, and I'm like, no wonder we have a problem with our shelters, because this is just in April, and this is just one, I think it's Reach Out Yucca Valley, or what's happening in Morongo Basin or whatever. Like April 16th, cat captured, the one running around Walmart. 4/16, anyone seen my lost dog, Yucca Valley Elementary School? 4/17, looking for temporary foster care, rescued puppies. 4/18, is anyone missing a cat? 418. Anyone looking for a pig seen on Aberdeen? 418. Great Dane found needs a home or foster. 418. Two small dogs running around Navajo. 419. Amboy. Anyone seen Mingo? 419. Small dog, small long-haired Chihuahua mix running in the desert around Amboy Road. 419. Small gray and white dog running loose Buena Vista Street. The point is that nobody on staff, and no one on the council interrupted you while you were speaking, so I'll get to the point. The point is, we all can agree that we have a real issue, and I appreciate people reaching out on social media, trying to get dogs reunited with other people. I appreciate people letting them know they saw a pig running around here and so forth. And that's part of the solution, is letting people know. However, it just shows how many animals are running loose and out there that could get hurt or killed. So I would think that the things that we could possibly do, and I like these suggestions that the staff has made, I think one of the things is that we really need to continue to invest in a spay and neuter program for especially low-income people who can't afford. I'd like to see us increase that, because we'll never get over the population problem with these animals if they continue to breed. So getting opportunities for people to get spay and neutered at a low and reduced cost is money, I think, well spent. It takes a while to get the results, but I think it's the best practice to prevent them coming into the shelter in the first place. And there are people that have lovely pets, but they just can't afford that extra stress on their budget. So by offering more and more reduced programs like that, perhaps Make a Difference campaign, where we're advertising in social media about blankets, food, scholarships, adopt a pet, low-cost adoptions. Those types of things would be very helpful, and I know that we've already started moving in that direction. Working with a nonprofit group that socializes animals so they can be reintroduced to possibly being adopted. So people that may have a pet that seems aggressive by our management team, but then there's a nonprofit who is willing to take that and socialize that pet to make sure it's just not scared of being in the shelter and maybe can be adopted, because we've heard a lot of rescues that have taken place by people taking them out of a shelter, socializing them, and then finding them a home. So dealing or working with nonprofit organization or somebody creating a nonprofit to help socialize the dogs would be helpful. Owner surrender, I agree. We need to be open to having somebody who can no longer, out of perhaps illness, perhaps they are getting, they have to move, their landlord won't let them keep a pet, but by having them be able to make an appointment and still surrender their animal, that way we get the background. I don't think we want to just push away people's owner surrenders. I think we just have them make an appointment so we can try to get that dog into a home would be important. And then by the after hours, now that seems to be a real problem. I want to go with other shelters that have best practices, and you see that so many of them don't have the after hour shelter or gates, but we could possibly come up with a situation where we have a lock code where a person can call, they can receive a code to be able to put that dog in after hours, and that way it's secure, and then we have validation who turned it in so we can get the history of that dog. Like, did they find it in this neighborhood? Is it their own pet? Is it, so we can have some history. Was it aggressive? And now you're dropping it off. So then if we get pets that we know the background, there's a better chance of adoption. So I think we're moving in the right direction, and I know we're not getting to real specifics, but those were just some of my thoughts that we could possibly help reduce the numbers that are coming into our shelter.
Thank you. Councilmember Lombardo.
Wow. I really like that idea of after-hour lock code. Maybe even some ability to video or record a message when you drop the animal off. The idea of having to call to get the lock code, you probably could get the information you need. I like that a lot. Can you tell me more about the capture, neuter, release program for cats? Was that only for feral cats or any cat captured during?
It's a, excuse me. It's a program that animal control and shelters are using to reduce the cat population in shelters. We can come back at your June 3rd meeting and give you an overview of the county's program. They have a very, very specific program on how they're dealing with cats, and as your shelter partner, I think that's probably an appropriate presentation we can include.
And you can let me know more about the success of those kind of things?
Sure.
Okay. I really appreciate everybody coming, and it troubles me a little bit that you're attacking individual employees of the town. I understand your concerns, but I think that the circumstances under which he was told to operate in may need to change, and it may not be him as an individual that he was doing what he felt was best, but now we can direct. We didn't know about this problem until you brought it to us, and I'm glad you did, because now we can address it. I think we're making progress, but everybody is redeemable. I worked in a prison, and I saw a lot of people that I thought were not redeemable that ended up being redeemable in the time I was there. And I think that if given the right circumstances and operational instructions, he's a very capable person from what we read of his curriculum vitae when we hired him in the first place. And so I think that he should be given an opportunity at least to either address this and make it right. And that's my feeling. I stand behind my employees at the town, and I think he should be given every opportunity to try to make it better. I think he's capable of doing that.
Thank you. Councilmember Schooler.
Well, I'd just like to thank staff for being responsive and putting this program together and for implementing what we've already implemented. I think the report was very, very good. Shows responsiveness. I really want to extend kudos to Brooke and the other employees who have stepped up and helped, because it's a very difficult time. I kind of remember back in maybe 12, 15 years ago when we were going the other direction, when we had to reduce expenditures and we had to cut back and we had to combine positions, and it was really difficult choices. And it took a while before the effects of those changes really were realized. And so this is kind of a cycle. Maybe it's not a cycle, but it's kind of an illustration of you put changes in place and it takes a while for the effects of those to really be seen. But conversely, I'm really glad that we're in a position now, not in those dire straits that we were, and we can look to the county as a partner, and we can maybe tap into some Measure Y money and make some financial commitment to improve things. So I think just contrasting the two times is interesting to me. Appreciate everything that Councilmember Abel said. I don't need to repeat all of that. Very, very good, very creative, very thoughtful. So with that, look forward to the next report.
Thank you. And Councilmember Dennison.
Thank you, Mayor. So I want to start off, and this part I do want to echo. Shane made a good statement earlier. Brooke and Ryan and Nate, and some of you have mentioned their names before. They do a swell job at the shelter, let me tell you. I go there, I see what's happening. They work their rears off. There's no doubt about it. And it's all driven by their love and relationship with the animals in the shelter. So I want to thank them, because they're really holding us all, keeping our heads above water. So right now, a couple things that I did hear and you all understood is, right now we're at capacity. And we know our shelter's only so big. The no-kill shelter's only so big. There is a limit to everything. And so we've talked about it, and Councilmember Abel brought it up too. This is like a system process to me. I look at it very number-driven, as most of you have done, and I look at it on how we can be a better business. And this is, and I don't know, I'm just doing it. It's counts in and counts out. That's what we're doing. We're trying to make sure that that's as even-keeled as possible. We're going to get animals and protect them from their environment, take them if someone can no longer maintain care properly for that animal. And I do believe the comments, we're very fortunate that we have a place for people that may be feeling uncomfortable about turning in their pet, whatever their life moment is, I don't know. It could be just a relationship with the animal. But our after-hour kennels are important to me and how I visualize them. What they could be, how we operate them, we may be able to make them even better. Some of the comments that I heard recently, one thing that we miss on that is we don't know why that occurred. So I've said in our first public comment that I could speak about this item was reducing barriers, and that's been brought up too. One of the things we can do is our spay and neuter programs lower the bar all the way probably down to nothing for many people. If we have an opportunity to get pets taken care of and have a good relationship with their owner to where they won't go astray and cause more unwanted pets, I think that's a really easy thing to do. It's just something that happens all the time, but how do we get that relationship with the owners? When we're talking about owners, one of the things that I saw, and no one's mentioned it today, I want to give a shout out to those that attended, but the Wolf Walk last weekend, I had an opportunity to go there with my pets, and the reason is because I'm a pet lover. Anyone that got to see my pets or met my pets before, they just lay on the floor right now and go, "What are you guys doing?" But they're pretty nice, and the best part is the meeting of other people that I saw there were all responsible pet owners. They all loved their pets. They took good care of them. They introduced them to other dogs and other people, and that's where we want to get. We have to have societally a relationship like that with all of our pets. I don't know how many of you have taken the time to actually go to our shelter up here and spend time, and those are the things that we need. Those that are very concerned about it, it's nice if you go there and just say, "Hey, good job." You don't have to let them know how discouraged we are in some of the things that are going on right now. That's our job. We're working on that. And believe me, there are discussions. I meet a couple times a week with staff to get these things moving forward. There's been a lot of work and a lot of production, and these are not just false signals going out, the things that you were presented tonight. Let me see here. I just know we can get better all the time. And one of the things I wanted to mention, if you've noticed on your agenda, the very last part is our community satisfaction survey. We do that annually. We put it in there and we put certain items that we want to start tracking and looking at. And one of the items I think we should do is probably put a little bit more of a focus on the shelter operations. So times like this, when we do these things and everyone has an opportunity to reach out back to the town, what do you like, what's the most important? If all of you noticed in the agenda the community survey? So the survey asks what's most important to you. Whatever it may be, you have an opportunity to start voting on these, and that moves the needle, and that's our compass. And so maybe we can start getting things like that put in there, just the animal shelter. And over time, because what we want to do is we want to continue to do these items that were presented tonight, and we're going to build on it before the last final report, and start at a foundation. And then when we move forward over the years, we can see how that needle's moving continually. Because some of you talked about planning for the future, and that's why we're taking our time, because I want to make a decision and make it as best I can now, and to continue to reevaluate it over the years and make it better, and not get into a place where we find people that are, and animals that are uncomfortable. So thank you for being here.
Thank you. Councilmember Lombardo.
I wanted to ask what would be the holdups in having more volunteer action? And one of them was law complications with injury and workers' comp. How do other towns handle that? We heard tonight that no background checks were required. You basically sign your name and a hold harmless clause. Would that work in our town? I'm asking the town attorney, Tom. Tom, oh, okay, sorry.
I'm happy to answer that, Councilmember. I think there are a number of different strategies that different agencies have depending on how they structure their risk management. I think there's many opportunities that we can review and see what best practices are. We can look at evaluating our programs to see if there's a way to streamline that, and we'd be happy to bring that back for you in your next update.
I would like it very much if you would look into speeding up the start of a volunteer program if that is appropriate.
All right, thank you. I just want to say, I'm not going to say too much, but I do want to ask the council, no applause for that? No. Anyway, I do want to ask the staff, let's see here. Sedation before euthanization, that is something that is being done right now, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, because I've heard several people say that, and I just wanted to make that clear. I think the ad hoc committee is really a great idea. If my time allows, I would like to be on that, but we'll talk about that. And let's see here. I do like the idea of leaving the outdoor cages, kennels open in some form or manner. Councilmember Abel, that was a great idea. Mayor Pro Tem, I should say. And owner turn-ins, I would hate to stop that also. I don't know if there's a way to change it, but I would hate to stop that. And I'd like to look into the hours. Maybe not, I don't know if it would work, but maybe be open Saturday and Sunday and close 2 days of the week. But, we'll see. I'm the kind of person that likes the process, like Councilmember Dennison. And a month from now, we'll have the final evaluation, the final report. So I'm going to wait till then to say any more, but I do appreciate everybody speaking online and in person. You might think that we don't like it, but we do. We like it when people are here and they're engaged, and it's sad you have to be here because, there was a problem, but I think we're making all the right steps. So thank you everyone for being here.
Mayor, if I might,
Yes.
we're going to walk through just very briefly and make sure that we understand your positions on the recommendations for you this evening. But I do want to I think it may be helpful. It's a little bit outside the normal process here, but I think it may be helpful. Councilmember Lombardo, thank you for your comments regarding staffing. But to clarify, staffing at below the town manager level is at the discretion and recommendation of the town manager, and we do that through a hiring process. So that authority lies with your town manager. Personnel actions have legal protections. They have requirements. We're going to respect that process. So we're not going to talk about anything that is occurring, that has occurred, or that will occur. Okay? So we want to be very clear about that. But the council and the community has made significant investment in this issue. The council has established policies, proposals so far. Ultimately, this will come back to you for formal action, formal policy adoption. And when that occurs, those policies will be in place. It's my expectation that the individuals that we have execute town policy guidance on a daily basis. If that doesn't occur, it's not the right place for any employee. Okay, so we understand that. And so that is our expectation. That will continue to be our expectation. And quite frankly, I do have to say a very, very big thank you to Shane for running this operational review for the most part. I've been involved in it as well. We probably know more about animal things than we ever had in the past. But that's our job when we have issues that come before the council, so that you have the information, the policy information to make those changes and to make those policy corrections when they need to occur. We don't have the ability, I can't have the ability to have Shane as our community development director and as your deputy town manager continue to be day-to-day operations at the shelter. That does not work for the organization, doesn't work for me. So we have to have a very, very effective animal shelter manager. We are confident that we will, and that we'll execute the programs and policies that the council puts in place. So that's my assurance to you as a council.
So you're going to review the recommendations as presented?
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. So I just want to ensure that we did not hear direct recommendation on the authorization of a new animal shelter specialist. If that's provided this evening, then we will move forward with posting that and getting that position filled. We did hear that there was consensus on the establishment of a standing committee. It's not an ad hoc committee, it's a standing committee, so it will have be subject to Brown Act and be scheduled for public participation. We did hear that the council is interested in continuing operations for volunteers and animal fosters. We do say upon completion of staffing priorities, we will try and streamline that. At the same time, we recognize that if we are significantly understaffed, everybody's doing things like feeding and watering, and there's very little room for other things. So we do have to get to at least a minimum level of staffing, but we will continue to move in that direction. And then we didn't talk about the performance factors. What we'll do instead of continuing that at this late hour is provide that to the council. You can provide input, and we will include that in your June update as well. And then we did want to hear if the council's in agreement that we believe that once we're complete with our draft operational review in its written format, that we would send that to peer review to get input from other public shelters and others that may be of value.
Do we need a motion on that?
Yes, if it's your, it'd be easy if you're in agreement with all of the recommendations that you move that recommendation forward.
I'll move the item as presented and the recommendations to the council.
Dennison will second.
Council members Abel,
Yes.
Dennison,
Yes.
Lombardo,
Yes.
Schooler,
Yes.
and Mayor Droz.
Yes. And also, this is a file and receive. Okay, now we're going to go up on to future agenda items. Does anyone on the council have anything in the future they want to talk about? No? Okay. Public comment. So I know several of you want to speak again. Usually we don't allow to speak on something that's not on the agenda. I mean, that is on the agenda at this time, but we will allow it today. The town council takes this time to consider your comments on items of concern which are not on the agenda. When you are called to speak, please state your name and community of residence. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes or less. Inappropriate behavior which disrupts, disturbs, or otherwise impedes the orderly conduct of the meeting will result in forfeiture of your public comment privileges. The town council is prohibited by state law from taking action or on discussion items not on the printed agenda. So let's see, who wants to speak? Go right ahead.
James, why don't you come on up?
Yeah, how about James?
I'll make this short. I wish I just would have had the chance to finish before. Okay, so I'll just finish where I started, or where I left off. The town asks us to trust them, and I think we all want to. Like, we want to trust our town council, we want to trust our town staff. But things happen sometimes that impact that trust, and I think that there needs to be better communication from the town, from the council, from the staff, and we have to figure out a way to partner. And partnering just doesn't end up with putting up walls. And it doesn't end with bad information being put out to the public or to the council that is never corrected or addressed. And here's a glaring example. In 2024, shelter manager Doug Smith presented it to the council about what the euthanasia rate was at the Yucca Valley shelter. In 2021, he stated that the rate was 21%. In 2022, 32%. In 2023, 34.3%. A review conducted by the town as a portion of this uncovered that the rates were actually significantly higher. 2021, 26%. 2022, 43%. 2023, 46.4%. Obviously, if you look at me on Facebook, I've shared this. There's a glaring difference there, and people want to know why. People don't trust government when we get bad information and it doesn't get corrected or addressed. I worked in government for 30 years. The people don't trust government when things like this happen. I know sometimes it feels like this is all criticism, right? It's all beat up on the mayor, beat up on the council, be very critical. I mean, sometimes it is. That's the nature of being in public service and being a public figure. If you guys have watched People versus Larry Flint, there's a very famous Supreme Court case that basically says public figures are the subject to scathing criticism. There's really not much they can do about it. It's Hustler versus Falwell. It's fabulous. You should look it up. So let me tell you why this concerns me. So I emailed 6 people these numbers, 5 council members and Shane. I got a very thoughtful response from Rick Dennison. Thank you. I got an acknowledgement from one other council member, Merle, who's not here, thank you, and I got nothing from anybody else. And that fuels the fire of speculation that we're being lied to, that information is coming out that's bad, that we're covering up the truth. Do I know that that's happening? Honestly, maybe it's not happening. This could be totally data errors. It could be human error. It could be all kinds of things. But someone's got to tell us, or everybody sitting here and everybody watching what's happening on social media are going to say, oh, there's the town lying to us again. They're not going to do the right thing, and that's not fair. I don't believe you guys are going to do that, and no one here, especially me, is an enemy to this town or anybody here. I've lived here for 40 years. I love this town. I absolutely love Yucca Valley. I don't want to believe that the town's just, feeding us a line, but this kind of thing fuels that belief. So please address these things when they come up. Communicate with us. Tell us what happened. Let us know and make us part of the team.
Thanks, James. And real quick, James, sorry I didn't get back on your email. It's hard for me to see right now. I'm behind on my emails the last 3 days. Anyway, thank you. Who's next? Anybody else want to speak?
Couple of quick bullet points. One, thank you for opening up the shelter because there's often been a closed gatekeeper where you can't go in. Really appreciate that. San Bernardino uses TNVR for vaccination, and that's for community cats and feral cats. And they have been indeed changing their program, but they've upped the vaccination to at least keep them clean. Maybe consider changing the city code. In Tennessee, there's a shelter I volunteer at, and in Tennessee, it's a criminal offense to have loose dogs. I'm not saying necessarily make it criminal, but people do it here, and there's no repercussions, and there's people who try to save the loose dogs, and there's people who own the loose dogs who complain about the people trying to save them. A lot of shelters transfer a certain amount of dogs to other states, other places where there aren't as many dogs. I think one of the Riverside County sent some to New York, to some rural area. I'm just sorry. Lastly, please put it on the agenda, and I know you're against it, but we had to wait 3 weeks for an update. The update doesn't have to be the great detailed, in-depth analysis. It could be, here are the things we said we're going to do, and they're in place. Because in the meantime, it can be a little frustrating. That's all. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hello again, Tora Edwards. I want to thank you for your comments tonight. Think back in reflection of what we were speaking of tonight. And thank you for talking about keeping the after-hour kennels. This little boy does thank you. He would not have made it through the night last night. Okay, we know that in this desert. So yes, these after-hour kennels are very important. The only thing that the people who dumped them with all the ticks in their ears did a little bit in thinking about these puppies, they were at least near a dirt road where someone might see them. I thank them for that. And so I do appreciate, and I want to really reiterate, spay and neuter, yes. That is the key to lower populations and for all this work we're doing, right? Yes. So the more that, yes, thank you, that the city is bringing in for the local population, spay and neuter, thank you. And the more we can do of that, the better, and really concentrate on that. Spay and neuter, your pet will be cuter. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else? Susan?
Susan again. Also, I wanted to ask about some of the reports that are on the pet shelter, the animal shelter website now. There's differences between the March report and the January, February, March report. One of them has 5 puppies in March born and 6 kittens, but then they disappear. So what happens? Do they just automatically kill the puppies and the kittens? I mean, that's awful to think, but they're not showing up, so I'm just thinking that they're not there, and probably means they didn't get sent to a rescue because the numbers don't add up as far as on the numbers of the kittens and the rescues that went out, so. Do we know what happened to the puppies or the kittens? Shane, have you been to the?
I can't comment without looking at statistics in front of me at the moment, so I don't have an answer for you.
It's right on the website.
I understand. I'll be happy to look at it and follow up with you.
Okay, all right, so, but I mean, things like that, makes us question, like, well, what happened to them and where'd they go? So, all right, well, I just really think we need to also fast track the volunteers, because that's going to take all the weight off the poor guys that are out there working. And as far as I think it was Deborah and Shane that were both told about the bad things that were happening at the shelter by a certain person that we're not mentioning. And I think that needs to be taken into consideration, because actually that's against the law. It's a cruelty to animals, what was happening. So if you can't, if you can't say certain things, I mean, I know you say he's doing a good job, but we won't say who it is. But we know that there's problems with him. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else? All right.
We have one comment online.
Okay,
Diana
thank you.
Persinger, I request you to unmute. You have 3 minutes.
Hi, thank you again. Okay, I just want to say thank you to Councilmember Abel, who I just loved all those ideas. I just was really appreciative of how thoughtful it was as well. And so then I didn't have to say a bunch of other stuff I was going to say right now. So if I can just push the fact that I also think that we really need to push forward the help for low-cost spay and neuter, because I had mentioned before that I was foster failing, and I had just made a call recently just to give you some updated pricing. I called BCA locally in Yucca, where I normally take my pets, unless I drive to Banning, and to get these 3 foster kitties, and I was planning to foster more and help get them out to prevent them from, having to go through the whole process through the shelter, take more work, away, help you guys not have to do so much more work, or the shelter. But for 3 kittens, 2 males and 1 female, it was going to cost me a minimum of $1,020. That was, their first visits ever, their wellness check, then the surgeries. And if something were not to have gone right, say a male didn't drop a testicle, they said, or the female was in heat. Mind you, they're 6 to 7 months old right now. So I've already been trying to get vouchers. I've been trying to get in at Animal Action League. And it's not their fault that they're full. It's because it's the only thing the community has. But it'd be $150 extra for each of those cats to have another incident happen. So for somebody like me that wanted to take on fostering, it's going to be impossible for me to ensure that they don't, go to new houses without spay and neuter, unless I'm going to play the lottery tomorrow and I'm going to show up early and hope that I can get 1 of 3 in. And how many weeks it's going to take me to do that, I don't know. But meanwhile, there's more cats out there. There's more dogs out there that are breeding. There's more in families that, they can't separate their dog, whatever the case is. I hope we can make that more of a priority for the community. And also the networking is free, and they'll find you. So thank you so much to the gentleman and the others, whoever's been named, for helping get those posts going more often, because we're sharing those more and into groups that people don't even know about. There's a million Facebook groups, and the networkers will find you, and we are free. So we can take a lot of work off your plate by by moving those dogs out quickly, less feeding, less cleaning, less, whatever, less time there. So, and then as far as the non-sedation, who approved that? And who's responsible for making that, happen for so long without you guys apparently knowing. And that person really needs to be considered of not just getting a second chance. How many years have they been in this industry, or not industry, in this profession there's my time, to have been given enough time to learn this lesson, that is not humane. So that's all. And I just wanted to thank you guys for your time.
Thank you very much. Anyone else online? No? Anyone in the public? One more person.
Hello, my name's Lauren. I am a renter in this
Is
town.
your microphone on, or can you put it? There you go.
Hello. I have 7 animals, and I've had to move 3 times in the last 3 years, which is really fucking hard with horses. And I've been really lucky to have good friends who have given me a home. But since COVID, the rentals in this town, I mean, you guys have known the housing crisis. It's so hard to find a place to live that's affordable for what we make that make this town keep going. So maybe, I don't know if it's within your power to make it easier for people with animals to rent houses. Like, there's ridiculous pet rents and pet deposits, and it's so hard to rent a place in general. Like, maybe we can make it a little easier for those people, because a lot of times you see people giving up their animals because they can't take them with them to go live in a new place. And I would be homeless before I gave up my animals, but that's just me. But maybe that's another solution to kind of keep animals out of the shelter, is making it a little easier to rent, more affordable to rent with our animals, because we love our animals and we don't want to give them up. So it's just an idea.
Okay, thank you. And I guess that's it. Okay, let's, oh, we have one more? Okay. Thank you. That was a great interview. Okay, so let's go staff reports and comments.
We'll keep this very short, Mayor. Anybody have comments? Okay. Shane, anything? Tom? I have 2, just if you can bring up the first slide. Thank you, Candy. I appreciate the comment on that. California Insider had the opportunity to sit down, do an interview on our, shifting gears here, on our Western Joshua Tree issues. We're not going to play any of this, but if you're interested in looking at it, just Google California Insider. You can take a look at it. We tried to present the issues that are facing our residents and advocate on their behalf. And then lastly, on the next slide, I just wanted to, from a staff perspective, wish Happy Mother's Day for our town's family moms. But I wanted to say just 2 things. Number one, we have a great deal of moms in our organization, and we know and understand how difficult it can be to be a mom and to be a worker, full-time worker, or even part-time worker. We have a handful of our team that are younger and have young kids. Your finance manager, who you had this evening, has 5, soon to be 6 young kids. Bree, who gave you your presentation, has 3 kids. Brooke, who's been involved at the animal shelter a lot, has 3 young kids. And so we understand that. I remember hearing my wife talk about this when she was working. We had the kids. Sometimes, actually, she said all the time, when she was a working mom, she felt as a failure, both as a mom, because she didn't spend enough time with the kids, and wasn't giving 100% to the organization that she was working for. And so that is a real struggle. We're so grateful for our moms that work for us, and I am just grateful for the council's support of staff and allowing us to be an employer of choice for some of our working moms. And so on behalf of myself and the council, Happy Mother's Day to all of our moms in our town family. That's it, Mayor.
Thank you. All right, let's, Mayor and council member reports and comments. So, Council Member Dennison.
Don't forget your mother this weekend. That was a great statement, but I don't have anything else to say. We had a lot of community participation. I'm very thankful for that.
Councilmember Lombardo.
I was fortunate enough to just return from a trip to Japan, Osaka World Expo, where I gathered a lot of interesting ideas that I would like to explore in the future here in Yucca Valley. I'll be sharing those ideas among my compadres and town manager and see if any of them are applicable here. It was a really interesting experience because their communities are so clean, it's overwhelming. And that's because of individual responsibility to maintain their own space and deal with their own trash. And they don't have trash cans on every corner. You have to carry your things, like if you have a lunch and you have wrappers and stuff, you put them in your pocket or you carry them some way until you find a receptacle. But there is nothing on the ground. There is nothing on the roadways. I saw no graffiti in a city of millions. And it was crazy, just overwhelming. And I think we're moving in that direction with Yucca, with the the beautification things that we're doing and revitalization of the old town. Aesthetically, they have poured a lot of effort into the architecture and the landscaping, and it just makes it such a pleasant experience. I think traveling is a wonderful way to experience other countries and other cultures. And a lot of the things that I love about Yucca, I like to export and talk with my new friends in other countries and say why I brag about Yucca Valley all the time. And hopefully some of them will come and join me sometime in the future here in Yucca. Thank you very much. I'm glad we had good participation today. And I want to thank everybody for being respectful and we got to exchange ideas, and we do have to be partners. And I think we're really making progress on this, and want to see it continue. So thank you.
Thanks. Councilmember Schooler.
Thank you, Mayor, but given the late hour, I think I have no further comments tonight.
And Mayor Pro Tem Abel.
Yes, just real quickly, Councilmember Schooler and myself, along with our town manager, attended the League of California Cities City Leadership Summit in Sacramento on April 23rd through the 25th. We were representing the town of Yucca Valley, had an opportunity to meet with a lot of our legislators in explaining the concerns that we have with the Joshua Tree issue, and we had a lot of great meetings. The last meeting we had of the week was with the California Department of Fish and Wildlife Director, who definitely understood the issues that the town of Yucca Valley and the residents were facing. He made mention that the board had really heard from the community. So those people in the community that took the time to speak to Fish and Wildlife, it really made a real impact on them. They realized that the way it's written now is going to be a real hardship for a lot of people. So we're very optimistic that they'll be able to try to work with some type of solution so we can protect our Joshua trees, but also make it financially we would financially be able to do things like add to our homes or perhaps hook to the sewer system and those types of things. So it went really, really well. I also attended the Desert Mountain League meeting in Big Bear, where I got a lot of different reports from other community members as well as from our legislators and their representatives. A couple things that they covered was AB Assembly Bill 75. It's a bill dealing with insurance companies using drones flying over private property without the homeowner's consent. And so there's a bill stating that they would need to give, insurance companies would have to give a 30-day notice that they're going to fly over your home and look at the condition of the roof or the vegetation and so forth. A lot of the presentation was on fire management. As you know, the huge fires we've had is a real concern, and talking about the zone zero regulations and so forth, and how insurance companies are leaving California because of the high risks, and how we need to do things to help lower our risks for fires. And the other important legislation that's coming up that talking about is point of purchase sales tax versus point of sales. So you know how many items you order from Amazon and dropped off through online purchases? The communities such as Yucca Valley, my wife or myself order something, it comes in on Amazon, we're not getting sales tax revenue. So they're talking about trying to come up with a split or a way of dividing up the sales tax from not only the point of origin, but also where the point of sale happens and where it's delivered, so that communities like Yucca Valley can get some of those tax dollars that we're missing out. And we're missing out from our brick and mortars too, because those online sales are so large. And the last is that I will be attending with several other council members the county city conference in Lake Arrowhead coming up, and plan on having a good report from there.
Thank you. And I really don't have anything to say except the Wolf Walk was a lot of fun. There were a lot of people there, and it was a blast. And I heard on the radio that they raised over $40,000. So that's great. So the next regular meeting of the Yucca Valley Town Council will be held on Tuesday, May 20th, 2025 at 5 p.m. right here in the Yucca Room. Meeting adjourned.